spice up your life.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. The Council of Governors has called on clinical officers to call off their strike that began yesterday, saying some of the key issues that led to the officers' strike have been addressed. In a statement, the governor said the strike was triggered by a lack of consensus at a meeting held on Tuesday last week to address the issues raised. The call by the clinical officers to call off their strike comes after a meeting was held between the Permanent Secretary for Medical Services, Harry Kimtai, officials from the Social Health Authority, as well as the Governors. Johnson Sakaja is the chairman of the Staff Committee of the Council of Governors.
In view of the aforementioned resolutions, we call upon the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers to call off the ongoing strike to ensure service delivery in county facilities and in all facilities do not grind to a halt. We had a meeting last week where we discussed the major issues. We have set a technical committee between the COG and the clinical officers, the council, and we gave them 21 days to actually go over the issues and to have a draft CBA that then will be cascaded to the counties.
And he further says that governors have made significant progress in addressing the issues raised by the clinical officers, thus urging them to call off their strike, which enters its second day today. Among the issues that the clinical officers want to be addressed are such as approving all hospitals to use the new SHA insurance, their salary increases and promotions. Clinical officers chairperson Peterson Mashira has accused the government of allegedly ignoring their cries.
But we are not going to take any promissory notes, and especially on the issue of the Social Health Authority, because there is no difference when we are at work and when we are not at work, because we cannot be able to pre-authorize, we cannot be able to see patients through the Social Health Authority. And so we are going to remain on strike until that day that we will be able to see our clinical officers pre-authorized and our facilities empaneled, and we also see goodwill in the implementation of the return to work agreement.
Now, President William Ruto has embarked on a 5-day tour of the Western Kenya region, during which he is expected to convene a cabinet meeting at Kakamega State Lodge today. The meeting is set to review various government programs and projects being implemented in the region and across the country. President Ruto yesterday released 150 million shillings in bonuses to sugar farmers who've supplied cane to Mumias Sugar Factory in Kakamega County as part of his 5-day development tour of the western region. Ruto promised to avail fertilizer and planting materials to cane farmers in the region to enable them get better returns next year. He also confirmed that the government had written off 117 billion shillings in public sugar mill debts.
Maneno ya deni ambayo ilikuwa imehangaisha sekta hii kwa miaka 60, bilioni 117. Hiyo deni baraza la mawaziri ikiungana na bunge, hiyo deni tumeifutilia mbali. Zile serikali zingine zilijaribu, lakini serikali hii pamoja na bidii yenu ndio imetufanya tukafutilia mbali deni ambayo ilikuwa inahangaisha hizi makampuni.
And the 47th President of the United States has made it official that going forward, only 2 genders will be recognized, that is male and female. Concerns are on the rise as to what this means for LGBTQ people. Trump accused the government of trying to socially engineer race and gender into every aspect of public and private life, and that he would put a stop to that. As he did during his previous campaigns, Trump made immigration the centerpiece of his 2024 speech, repeatedly vowing to deport undocumented migrants.
We will forge a society that is colorblind and merit-based. As of today, it will henceforth be the official policy of the United States government that there are only 2 genders, male and female. And we are going to bring law law and order back to our cities.
The 7 comes as Pope Francis has said that Trump's plans to deport illegal migrants from the US would be a disgrace if materialized. That's the Newswire. I'm Leah Obaga.
.5 SpiceFM, Kisumu.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
This new year, say yes to a new world of entertainment on StarTimes. Enjoy the finest family entertainment on all your favorite channels. Recharge your subscription for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months. Kick off the new school year with a world full of adventures on our kiddie channels. The excitement of sports action in the Carabao Cup, Bundesliga and La Liga. Who will be the new champions? Edge of the seat action on our blockbuster movies. Fresh heart-stopping premium telenovelas plus more spectacular entertainment on your StarTimes decoder. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy unlimited entertainment anytime, anywhere. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Hi everyone, you may have heard about Cradle's first annual Study Abroad conference happening on January 18th in Nairobi and on January 27th in Eldoret. Can you tell us what students can expect?
The University of Limerick is one of the large government-led, research-led universities in the Republic of Ireland. 97% of our graduates are in employment upon graduation. All of our undergraduate students do a 6 to 9 month work placement as part of their programme, and it's paid and it's in an area relevant to your studies. And our most popular programmes are in science, engineering, business, humanities, health sciences, and arts, humanities and law.
That sounds fantastic. So everyone make sure to attend Cradle's first annual Study Abroad conference at Gallant Mall Parklands in Nairobi and at Okoh Hotel in Eldoret. Make sure to register by visiting www.cradle.com, that's CRAYDEL.com, or call 0799 000 444, 0799 000 444. Hi everyone, you may have heard about Cradle's first annual Study Abroad conference happening on January 18th in Nairobi and on January 27th in Eldoret. Can you tell us what students can expect?
Hi folks, Kieran here from Griffith College Ireland. I'm really looking forward to meeting you at the Study in Ireland Cradle Fair and giving some real great insights onto your life as a student with us in Griffith, and also about some of the fantastic career opportunities that are there for you in Ireland during and post your study. So again, really looking forward to meeting you. Stop by, say hello.
That sounds fantastic. So everyone make sure to attend Cradle's first annual Study Abroad conference at Gallant Mall Parklands in Nairobi and at Okoh Hotel in Eldoret. Make sure to register by visiting www.cradle.com, that's CRAYDEL.com, or call 0799 000 444, 0799 000 444.
Good morning and welcome to Tuesday, the second day of the week, and let's have a quick look at what it looks like on these streets this morning. As you're coming off of the Eastern Bypass, which usually get clogged up as we get into the week, not much traffic here at all. Folks are getting in and out and about without an issue. Outer Ring is also looking good. Kangunda Road at different junctions, we're going to have some traffic there already. As you're coming off of the Thika Superhighway, coming via the Outer Ring, not much traffic here at all. Even on the Thika Superhighway, as you get towards the Pangani underpass. Just a little bit of a clog up, but nothing to worry about, at least not for now. We know that will open up later. On Waiyaki Way, as you get into the city, you're going to join around the Chiromo area, and it'll slow down just a little bit as well as folks are trying to get into the CBD. Gong Road looks pretty good, as it does on Langata Road. All for now, before the sleeping giant of traffic awakes this Tuesday. Take advantage of it and get where you need to go. As we keep things moving this morning, let's talk through it. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning.
Nairobi.
It's 10 after 6 o'clock. It is the 21st. Imagine yesterday was the 20th. Today's the 21st. January saying, I'm taking no prisoners. Let's wrap this thing up and finish real quick, real fast. 10 days left in the month. And you thought that 31st of January was so far when John Baddy said that Treasury would release 46 billion shillings. It's not too far away. Then he came back and said it will be this week, but let's see if it actually does happen. And I'm already starting to ramble. Good morning, Dennis.
Good morning. How are you?
Let me think about that. I'm fine.
I am fine as well.
Okay.
It's really hot at night, but what to do?
Yeah.
It's really, really hot.
I guess it's the season, eh?
It's the season. Which season?
The hot season.
Okay.
I don't know what else to tell you. Sweetie. Vipi.
Piti, habari ya wewe?
Mimi iko salama.
That is excellently good.
Mimi ni iko? Hi. That's a good place to start.
It is a wonderful place to start.
Yeah, let's start from the very beginning. Kama mko salama, I'm happy.
The sound of music is sounding in your ears.
I'm telling you, yeah. Always good to be here. How are you guys all doing? Great to click into the show this morning, and let's get it started. Let me tell you a couple of conversations that we'll be having today as we get into the morning proper, shall we? All right, at 7 a.m. Homer Bay Town MP 100 Kaluma will be here with us at 7 o'clock. What are we going to be talking about? A number of things. Star of them being looking into really what is the way forward for ODM. And ODM broader being the opposition. There's so many things being said. Opposition is in bed and they've had a baby with government. Opposition doesn't exist. Edwin Sifuna has come out in the last few days saying, we've got to hold folks accountable no matter what. So, what does it all mean? And really, where does this party that has been in the opposition quite a lot actually stand? He'll join us at 7. And then at 8 o'clock, there's this thing called mining, and that there are gemstones in Kenya, and that there are regulations also. What does it mean? Is there a vibrant mining industry in Kenya? Is it actually bringing about some kind of profits in the long term? With the regulations, what does it actually mean? The director of Rockland Jewelers, who is Alice Mudhama, will join us at 8 o'clock for that conversation. And then at 9 o'clock, we will have a conversation with Dr. Heshbon Tindi, and we will be talking about livestock vaccines. It's going to be one that will be interesting to see, because there's a lot of controversy surrounding that. And there's also a lot of edicts that have been given in terms of what ought to be done. So we'll have that conversation with him at 9 a.m. So this is some things that we'll be talking about. We can see you all opening the door, coming in and having a seat. Let's take a look at what the weather has in store for this morning. And then we'll come in and open that door and say hello to you guys as we click in this morning. Let's do it? All right, let's do it at 14 minutes after 6.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with Spice FM.
And the weather this morning from Nairobi, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Kakamega County, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In Mombasa, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 25 degrees. In Nakuru City, highs of 28 degrees and lows of 12 degrees. In Nyeri Town, highs of 28 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. Across the borders to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, highs of 25 degrees and lows of 8 degrees. Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, has highs of 32 degrees and lows of 26 degrees. And in Kinshasa, Congo DRC, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 23 degrees. China has highs of 9 degrees and lows of negative 4 degrees. And Paris has highs of 4 degrees and lows of negative 1 degree. That's the weather these are.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, saying hello to everybody who is in the room this morning. Quite a number already.
Yes, and a lot of you already in. We start with Don Sabwandu. Again, Ask CT.
Okay.
Who is a non-executive chairperson?
CT, who is a non-executive chairperson? Give me a follow instructions.
Yes.
Well, to understand that, let's begin with who is an executive chairman.
Okay.
An executive chairman is somebody who will be involved in the day-to-day running of a business or an entity. Non-executive means you chair board meetings, but you are not involved in the day-to-day running of the entity.
There you go, Don Sabwa. Niko salama, Ndu and City mko salama?
Salama.
In Malawi, how are you? We say mulibwanji, unajibu, ndilibu ino.
Bas.
Kaya ino. Wewe. Okay. Don Sabwa. Michael Olande, bonjour. Okay. Ndu, please read that.
Which one?
From Michael Olande. Bonjour.
Bonjour, c'est une matinée fraîche venant de 1000 collines. So he is in the land of 1,000 hills and says bonjour to you this morning, essentially. That's where we are. Which is morning. In Chigari.
Chigari, okay. And our Ohio State versus Notre Dame, that is football. And Evans Ntabo, good morning Spice. Mkopoa, salamu nyingi sana. Tunapokea salamu. Cyprian Kambuni, good morning Spice FM, good morning to you. Desmond Ortiz, good morning Spice. Ndu, in 2 seconds, which African countries has the youngest and oldest presidents?
Oh, as in now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Youngest president, I think, is a Burundian president.
Oldest?
Right now, it's Wairimu Museveni. No,
Africa or East Africa?
Bia has croaked. Sorry. Bia passed away last year.
Me, I was thinking East Africa.
East Africa.
Wairimu Museveni, I believe he's still, because Bia was 91.
Okay.
Wairi is 83.
Okay. Sawa.
The oldest, yeah.
Good morning, kings and queens. Princess Ndumpo is determined by Ngelia Pakumo. Mpo is used when in a place, whereas Okoh is used when referring to a place outside, like Aseto Okoh, Niko.
Sawa.
Yeah. Swahili class. Musi Els, good morning Kenya, good morning to you. Hello Princess Ndu City and Aseto. A leader listen to the people he or she intends to lead. A narcissistic politician thinks they are right and everyone is wrong and takes criticism as a threat to their being. That's according to Leo. And Kiama Victor, good morning Dennis Ndu and City. Another morning to toil before must go kills us. Okay. Zach, okay. Hi Spice family, good morning. We are negative 30 degrees in Minneapolis. Last year and bullfight exposed the president's underbelly. Now Robert Mbogo, good morning from Mombasa. Good morning to you. Good morning Spice, listening from Rongo. Weather cold 2025 choice. Your hard life is never easy. Okay. Peter Karicho, hi Spice team, good morning. Waiting for the hot topic today. Yeah, be sure to join us. Happy New Year everybody. I'm back tuned in from Arizona. Karibu sana. Good morning from Ruaraka, Johnson Asava. Good morning, Team Spice. It's yet a new day, giving us new opportunity to make a change in our small ways. I appreciate Ndu, CT, and Aseto. Karibu sana. Good morning, Spice. Naivasha is calling. Karibu Ndu. Ask CT again. Are you aware Paul Kagame, like Yoweri Rutabasirwa, attended Ntare High School in Uganda and met Janet Kagame in Nairobi, Kenya?
No,
Are you aware?
No, I'm not.
No, he's not. But now he knows. Nyadi Chukunzira, good morning, Fantastic 3 and special meetings to Leubaga, tuned in from Doha. And Rachel Wanjiru, good morning, Team Spice, Happy New Year. Hear no evil, see no evil, Mambo iko sawa. And good morning, all Mombasa is called Albert Ambani, Hesbon Sidon, good morning, Karibu Sana. And we have Angor Chamgay, my beautiful people, greetings from beautiful hills of Saboti, Tanzania. Now, Penda Santana Penda Pia, Sandra Sharia, good morning, family. And Joe Mungai from Bonnie Lake, Washington. The more things change, the more they remain the same. Return of Mungiki and Psychophone sounds like a bad dream. And Cyrus Muli, good morning, friends, ready for the Situation Room and specifically the proverb, Karibu Sana. City will be giving you the proverb a little bit later. Chris Maura, good morning. Sandra Sharia, Buenos Dias, Kenya. Miss Troy Vids, greetings from Northampton, UK. J. Bud Hawk, good morning from UAE. Newton Emasa, good morning from Nyakach TVC. Tibbs Muga, good morning from the UK. Grace Muga, good morning, Spice. Looking forward to a bright day as well. We are looking forward to that. Mwenda Pole, Vushere Mulembe Muno, Vushere Muno. And Benedito, good morning from Doha, waiting for great conversations. And everybody else who's tuned in and listening to us, Karibuni Sana, to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Karibu, Karibu. Good to have everybody in here. We are in the land of 1,000 hills.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We are. The sharpness.
Le proverb.
The proverb. The sharpness of the tongue defeats the sharpness of the warrior.
Yep.
Yep.
This thing called the tongue, my friend, the things it can do. Even the guy who has shield, buckler, sword, everything may not do as much damage as the tongue.
Can destroy you by just using words.
What?
It can also build.
It can build.
It can build, yeah.
I wish we used it as much for building up as we did for tearing down, though.
I guess it's how you choose to use it.
Absolutely. But that's a proverb and a lesson at the same time today, isn't it?
It is.
Okay, well, let's see how it takes us through the day. And now, let's look at the headlines. Interesting ones. On the front page of the Standard, return of sycophants. One would ask, did they ever really go anywhere? But okay. For purposes of this headline, check quality of advice you get. These are the words of Mias East MP Peter Selassie to President William Ruto. If he wished to fulfill his pledges with the MP, claiming the men surrounding him tell him what he wants to hear, not the truth, essentially. They're telling you SHA is working when it is not, he said. The new university funding model is not working. I know you have the heart to help the country. They don't want you to know the truth. Okay. Sawa. According to this story, all the king's men are suddenly surrounding the president. Peter Kaluma, who will be here with us at 7 o'clock, is one of them, according to this story. William Kamket Tiati MP, Suna East MP, Junet Mohammed, and John Waluke, Sirisi MP. Also, these men are seeming to be fanning the flames of dishonesty, is what Peter Selassie is saying. Let's see. The government wants to recruit 10,000 police officers. Sawa. Interior Ministry says it's seeking funds for increase members of the service for the first time in 3 years. Change of guard. Donald Trump is sworn in as the 47th president sworn in as the 47th president in the US Capitol Rotunda in Washington, D.C. yesterday. So that happened. He says he wants to be colorblind and merit something. Okay. Why January blues may extend deep into 2025? No, we don't want. We want the January blues to end with January. So whatever you guys need to do to tuck that thing back in, do it. CBK to fast track M-Pesa rival. Who dat? Let's wait and see. Gaza hostages freed as truce begins. Finally, there's a conversation around peace. So let's see what that holds. Yes?
Yeah, but let's go to the Daily Nation and the top left side. Odinga family partners in 120 billion shillings housing project. Now, the project on a 285-acre parcel owned by the Jaramogi Oginga Odinga family will consist of 1,400 houses, commercial premises, and social amenities such as schools and hospitals. And on the right, funding for DP office up 164%. after Kindiki moved in. Well, the office of the Deputy President always attracting bigger budgets. And smack in the middle, Uhuru versus Ruto Season 2. Gen Z tiff, the recent rapprochement between President William Ruto and his predecessor Uhuru Kenyatta has taken a new twist after a public exchange of words cast doubts on their supposed truce, even as former head of state Jubilee Party ruled out rumors of a political deal. That is an interesting story. I think we should have a conversation with Kioni. Yeah, and when love goes sour, the tragic end of 3 women. 1 man in custody, another on the run, the third dead after taking his own life. The aftermath of 3 murders, all the consequence of love gone sour, leaving the families of 3 women grieving and homicide detectives trying to build a case against prime suspects. Matters to do with love gone sour and femicide cases still happening in the country.
Yeah.
And still, Trump vows swift action as he is sworn in for a second term. That happened yesterday. It is a conversation piece that people are talking about, but that's pretty much on the Daily Nation. City, what do you have?
In the Business Daily, Treasury revises 2014 economic growth forecast. Treasury has revised the country's 2024 economic growth forecast downwards following a slower than expected performance in the first 3 quarters and poor credit to the private sector. Okay? Now this sounds to me like a true story.
Yeah?
It does.
Okay.
Another true story to follow. KRA misses revenue target by 163 billion. The Kenya Revenue Authority misses the tax collection target in the first half ended December by 163.46 billion shillings, highlighting the impact of the rejection of the Finance Bill 2024. True stories are many. This one, crypto firms to have local offices, CEO. This one, you decide whether it's true or not. Cryptocurrency companies operating in Kenya, you see, if you didn't know they're operating in Kenya, they exist. It will have to set up offices in the country and appoint locals to lead their subsidiaries if the new rules proposed by Treasury are approved. We shall see, won't we? Tea growers protest land invasion. Really? Well, let me read. A tea estate in Nandi County has lost more than 150 million Kenyan shillings in the past 5 months due to widespread land invasions and illegal activities, the industry lobbying group here yesterday, meaning you own land, suddenly other people feel they can also share the land with you, so they just encroach it. Right. State cancels lucrative tourist insurance tender after backlash. The Immigration Department has terminated a controversial multi-billion shilling tender for the newly introduced compulsory medical insurance for foreigners visiting Kenya after local insurers complained of discrimination.
Okay.
Meaning they are not being involved sufficiently.
Proper.
And they can also offer insurance. Bang in the middle of this particular paper. Private sector growth. By the way, these are today, true stories.
Everywhere.
True stories. Private sector loans growth shrinks first time in 22 years. Bank lending rates remain high despite CBK rates cut. This one, I always find it interesting. CBK is supposed to be the institution in the country mandated by law to govern and regulate banks. They tell banks, we're regulating you and we're telling you we've reduced rates, also you reduce interest. Bank says, no. Right. Manufacturing, finance, trade, construction take a hit. True. How do I know it's true? I know it's true because of the number of firms that are closing, the number of people who are losing jobs. The numbers, you just need to look at this Mombasa road. There's a road that has been built for the last God knows how many years.
2 years.
It's supposed to have taken a couple of months. It's always a work in progress. A lot of noise is made, and suddenly you see earth-moving vehicles parked outside the gate of Standard Group. Yes, that's what you see happening. Yeah. Then you find some really tired-looking Kenyans digging the same spot, and you wonder what it is they're doing. They do that for days on end, but this time they made difference.
Yeah. I've seen a difference.
There's a difference. They filled up the hole which was there. There's some tarmac, but it's incomplete.
Yes.
So, yes, problem. Okay, let me look at the Star. Today, the paper is free, and it's not for sale. So if someone tries to sell you the Star, please tell them to go suck a lemon.
Oh, okay.
Hey, American granny speaks on volunteering to teach Kenyan children maths and art. This is a story on page 3. My goodness. Yeah, she has decided this being grandmother is all good and well, but she can still work because she's alive. Good for you, sister. Okay. Wamunyoro Gachagua new command post. Okay. A former DP Rigathi Gachagua has begun assembling a team as he riddles himself of... Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Rids?
No.
Riddles?
I did not read it wrongly. It's just that it was written wrongly.
Okay.
I think it means as readies himself for a political face-off with his former boss, President William Ruto. Businessmen, MCAs and MPs and 2027 aspirants have been trooping to his Wamunyoro residence to plan the way forward. Okay? All right. Political movement, tough times. More women than men get Inua Jamii cash. In 2024, women-led homes were the greater beneficiaries of government-led safety net programs as men-led families struggled to access the funds. How much was released? 18.7 billion was released under this Inua Jamii program. Just about 20% went to families headed by men. So you do the math, the other went to the other families led by women. Not witchcraft. Parkinson's warriors fight for awareness. Excuse me. In Kisumu, resilient individuals are tackling one of the most misunderstood health conditions, Parkinson's disease. People with the condition suffer stigma, including unjust discrimination in the workplace and lack of opportunities to engage and participate in their communities. Bang in the middle of the paper. Game plan. Big guns are drawn from nearly all former 8 provinces. The broad-based Ruto re-election political machine. That's the headline. President picks veteran politicians to articulate his vision, government agenda. Who are these people? There's Hassan Joho, John Mbadi, Githure Kindiki, Lee Kinyanjui, Mutahi Kagwe, Opiyo Wandayi, Adan Duale, William Kabogo, Wycliffe Oparanya.
All the Kingsmen.
I don't know whether the Kingsmen.
The ones who put Humpty to Dumpty together again.
We shall see if they are, won't we?
Yes,
for them to be the Kingsmen, we will see whether they will support the king through thick and thin.
Exactly.
Yes.
Okay, let's take a break and take a look at what's happening with traffic right about now, and then we'll come back and look at these stories in detail. Good morning, 28 to 7.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Okay, so a bit of a build-up. We're seeing that on the Thika Superhighway coming in from Kiambu Road through towards Muthaiga Square and then out towards the CBD from the Pangani Underpass. That's probably the most that we'll see around here for now. It's also busy on Kangundo Road, always busy on Kangundo Road through the day, in and outbound right now as you try to touch on Outer Ring or go out in the direction of Njiru. So that will continue for some time from what we see. On the Thika Superhighway further ahead, there's traffic coming in from Garden City. Beyond that, there's traffic coming in from Kasarani, so that looks like it'll go and find its way through towards Survey. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. Uhuru Highway has not started to clog up just yet. We see some movement on Gong Road, and it's also starting to build lower Kabete, Spring Valley. That area will be busy. Going through on the other side towards Limuru Road, Gikiri, that will do its thing at some point. Doesn't look too bad on Langata Road and also on the Southern Bypass heading out in the other direction. And we'll see some movement and some traffic on the Eastern Bypass as well. So we're here for it. Want to keep things moving this Tuesday. Help us out as well. Let's talk SpiceFM KE on X. Hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
Stories in detail this morning. I don't even know where to start. My goodness. Okay, so one Why public debt is tightening its grip on Kenyans' strained wallets. I mean, it sounds like a no-brainer, but let's go into it anyway. Esther Nyeri, a vegetable vendor in Nairobi, begins her day before dawn, hoping to make enough to cover the rising cost of living. This is her hope. Yet, no matter how hard she works, her earnings are barely enough. Everything is expensive. Taxes, food, even school fees, she says, her voice heavy with worry. Like millions of Kenyans, Nyeri is caught in the grip of a growing public debt crisis that is slashing government spending on essential services while driving up taxes. As families struggle to survive, Kenya's ballooning debt burden is becoming a crisis felt in every home, at work, and even in businesses, as many are forced to shut down. CMC Motors Group, we know last week, which has announced the closure of its operations in the country, said despite restructuring efforts and a transformation program initiated in 2023, market conditions have not provided a sustainable path forward. According to the motor company, this decision follows a thorough evaluation of the business in light of sustained market challenges, including economic pressures, currency depreciation, and rising operational costs. So, a 2024 Parliament report paints a grim picture, warning that the country's escalating debt and the failure of public officers to account for spending are threatening to shrink the economy, stifle job opportunities, and limit resources for crucial development projects. This report actually came out of Parliament, not anywhere else. And they're the They are the legislature. So the question is, okay, what on earth is going on? The report reveals that government officials have failed to account for borrowed funds, and over-reliance on debt is proving unsustainable, putting additional strain on the economy. As of July 2024, Kenya's public debt stood at 10.6 trillion shillings, about 70% of the country's gross domestic product. Parliament has pointed to poor tax policies, ballooning debt, and audit queries, including undrawn balances and non-compliance, as key contributions to the country's fiscal troubles. And you can see this actually trickling down to people when you cannot afford life. Yeah. And that's what we're talking about. You can't afford 3 meals. Some cases you can't afford 2. You get 1, you're lucky.
In many cases you can't afford 1.
Exactly. You get 1, you're really lucky. You can't afford transport, so you will walk. You can't afford school fees, so you'll pay, or your children will be at home. Healthcare, if you're asked to pay out of pocket, you really you can't afford it. And that's what it means when you see this. Now, if Parliament is telling you this, they are the ones who allow money to be spent. They're the ones who say essentially where you're going to get money from. It would seem as though measures need to be taken to make sure that this situation is alleviated. But it is not happening at the moment. If anything, it seems to be getting worse.
Yeah, and as well as we talk about that, lest we forget that for years on end, the government has stayed with the pending bills. Kenyans have supplied services and goods to them. They've not been paid. Hence, you see some shutting down, unable to meet their daily demands. Banks are on their neck. And it's just something that needs to be looked at from both ends. Siti, you're smiling.
Yes, I am.
You're happy.
No, I'm just smiling.
Okay. Yeah,
please continue.
Yeah, pretty much. It's how we look at it. So when we talk about matters to do with people being unable to afford, lest we forget that government has equally not met the end of the bargain and still continues to rise.
Indeed.
You know, what you've just read, unfortunately, is not just a piece of news. And if it were news, then it should be alarming news.
Yes.
When in your country you have an ever-growing number of people who can't even afford 1 meal a day, you have people who cannot afford to live because whatever they had as a means of earning that living has ceased to exist, and the numbers keep growing, you are fermenting something you do not really want to ferment. Because the discontentment among these people will grow. People who previously could afford to live can't. People who previously could afford to feed their families can't. People who who previously could afford to extend a helping hand to their relatives in need cannot. So if they cannot, these relatives who need the help, what do you think their position is?
Yeah.
It is an ever worsening situation, and no amount of rhetoric will change it. It's just a simple reality. Now, there's one here of a comprehensive plan that has been laid out to address it. The answer is a resounding no. There is talk about what ought to be done. Talk is not a plan. Talk is just that, talk. So, this is not a healthy situation.
It isn't. It isn't. It isn't. When people, I mean, it sounds like sing-song, but when people have to get to the point where they have to beg for bread, this is a problem. Where people have to get to the point whereby it is difficult to do the very basic. We're not talking about luxury. We're not talking about secondary in terms of what hierarchy of needs. We're not talking about self-love and actualization. We're talking about the very basic. If the very basic is unattainable, or it is attainable through bouts of stress, you have to really start asking and start tightening the screws. You have to ask yourself, where are we really, if it's so difficult to do the basic?
Look at the three, any of the papers, forget the 3 dailies, and look at the number of cases of women who have either been killed or who have been harmed, and it's not in one place in the country. Okay? These numbers aren't going down. What? Did we suddenly incubate a whole group of men whose sole duty seems to be to kill women? What is happening? Every page you turn in our papers, you will find some harrowing, horrible story of social things that are on the increase. And the worst thing is that they are negative. How can that be a good thing?
And as you say, City, in terms of having a comprehensive plan to address this, no. But we keep on hearing of talks and forming commissions and working parties to address these issues. Yet at the heart of it is a police department that is funded by the Republic, was supposed to ensure that we are all safe and sound. Yet each and every new day, by the time it gets to a point where the president is forming a working party, my question is, why do we have police boats? Why do we have a security team that is not doing its job? But let's even escalate it. Let's go back and look at why all these issues are increasing. Because like City is saying, there are social issues that are on the rise and all of them negative. But it seems as though we are not doing anything about it.
I don't know.
And to understand it, to understand why this particular situation is bizarre and terrible. Headline in the Daily Nation, Uhuru versus Ruto Season 2. The Star, broad-based Ruto re-election political machine. Business Daily, private sector growth shrinks first time in 22 years. The Standard, return of the sycophants. With the exception of the headline in the Business Daily, do any of these things talk about the issue that is actually bothering and the issue that
real
is a problem that we have in this country?
None.
It isn't.
None.
So you want to ask, is it deflection of the reality so that you don't have to deal with the pain? It's more dangerous, in my opinion. Deal with the thing face to face and let's see how we can. Running away from it is not going to help anybody. Never has, never will.
Yeah, and even yesterday when we had a courier here, we put the question to him. You say Shah is working. Prove to us it's working. And Kenyans from across the country called in and told him it is not working. We need solutions.
Actually, Dennis, it is working in some cases. That's the truth. There is a narrative that Shah is not working. There are very many aspects of the social health authority process that definitely and definitively is not working. But there are many instances also where it is working. Whether this has been segmented and segregated so that we know what specifically is not working and what specifically is working, I know it is working because there's a friend of mine who died at Coast General Hospital. It was called John Ochola. This man was a person living with disabilities. He had a bill of 260,000. It was paid. So you cannot tell me, for instance, that it's not working, because I even have the evidence that it is working, because it is, when you pay, it is documented. All I'm saying is this: there seems to be, it's not neglect, it is apathy based on just sheer misdirection of priorities. We could easily tell what it is about SHA that is working and what is not. For instance, no one is saying that for many of the services to work, there has to be adequate funding. We still don't have adequate funding for SHA. Okay? That is not coming out. It's mentioned, but it isn't being
It's
pronounced.
not coming out clearly.
Yes, that all these things that we said, they were aspirational and they're not all going to be achieved now.
No.
What is being achieved now is this. Because, in all honesty, every once in a while when I hear a whole cacophony of voices, oh, it's not working, I hear whisper, but I've seen it work. I've seen it work. So there are pockets that tell you with clarity it is working. What's not working? What is it? Can it be fixed? That focus is not being given to it.
Yeah. And if you look at that, even the women who stormed the cabinet secretary's office, it's because they tried. Nothing was coming back, and they had to walk in to seek for answers. And as we say, it only takes one individual not to access service for them to say this is not working.
You see, for them it didn't work. What exactly didn't work?
Didn't work. Yes.
Okay. What exactly didn't work? And was there someone within that facility who could have told them, or is there an opportunity for all health facilities to have someone who can explain to the care seekers what it is that they need to do in the event, excuse me, that this gadget isn't working or the card is not responsive? It's not complicated. It didn't require somebody who is in the Economic Advisor Secretariat to be calling governors for us to understand these things. At devolved function, the county governments ought to have understood that if there are problems, this is what we need to do. Now, why Mombasa is unique? If you went to Kisumu, you'd find it unique. Every county where we had a pilot for the universal health have systems that actually work. Okay? Now, if they have systems that work, because money was put into it over time.
Yes, it was.
140 billion?
Yes, money was put into it. So they've had time to figure out some of these things. So we do know how this thing can work, but do you hear of specific and targeted efforts being made to ensure that this thing works? No.
And is it by design or is it by choice?
Definitely by design.
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I say it is by design because remember, even when we had Courier here, we asked him, this system that you're now implementing never went through the pilot phase. How then do you know of the bottlenecks and the problems when implementing it? Because you never did a trial run to just see what issues has.
Yeah.
That question was asked when Dr. Lueng was a chairman. That question has been asked
to Dr. Mohammed.
We've asked that question even before it was rolled out.
Yes.
We said, we hear you, good plan. How are you going to pilot it? Because so that we know the very things that we're talking about, that's what a pilot process would have done.
Exactly.
But we're told, no, we're just going to jump into the deep end and try and swim as we move along. Now, unfortunately, if you haven't learned to swim and you're in the deep end, you're going to drown.
That is exactly what is going to happen.
That's exactly what is happening.
Yes. So the narrative that becomes dominant, that it is not working.
Yes.
See? That's a dominant narrative, but it is not representative of the actual reality of this particular process.
Yep.
Now, those who ought to be correcting it are also silent.
Or perhaps don't even know how to fix it.
They don't speak, they don't say anything about it. So that narrative of this thing is completely not working takes hold, it's dominant, and it's what everybody believes, that SHA is not working.
Whereas you can actually, sort out some of these issues.
Yes, you can.
You can.
With basic communication. Yeah. Internal and external communication is not happening, and I think that was, agreed to. And it would be great if some of these things are fixed. Quick, another story.
Yeah. So there is a story here on page 7 of the Daily Nation. A prison warder charged for posts criticizing the state. A committee maximum prison warder arrested last week has been charged with publishing false information linking the government to the abduction of its critics. Mr. Jackson Kuria Kihara, also known as Kop Shakur, Monday faced charges of publishing false information on X and committing cybercrime offences. Under which law? The CS is an upcoming dictator. He is the one responsible for the abductions together with Ruto. The post published on January 11th, 2025 reads in part. The charge further stated that Mr. Kuria knew that the said false information was circulated to cause panic among the citizens of Kenya. Upon conviction, Mr. Kihara is liable to a fine not exceeding 5 million shillings or a jail term not exceeding 10 years. The accused denied the charges before Milimani Chief Magistrate Lucas Onyina. His lawyers James Ongamo and Ian Mutiso applied for his release on bond. Mr. Kihara is a civil servant and a member of the disciplined forces who knows the consequences of skipping bond and failing to turn up for trial. Yes, that is what the lawyer was telling the court. So, criticize the state, you go inside.
But what exactly did he say? Repeat that again.
Yeah, what did he do? What did he publish?
This is what he published. Under which law? The CS is upcoming dictator. He is the one responsible for the abductions together with Ruto. Yeah.
Did he tell somebody? What did he? Did he post it on his X? What did he do?
Did he ask a question or did he make a statement?
That's all he did. That's what has been quoted here.
But where was it? Did somebody read it? Did he send an SMS?
I think
was he having a conversation
he shared it on his X platform.
So there's something he said which amounted to incitement.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So what is it? Anyway, you know the you actually are allowed to criticize the state.
Yeah.
You are, however, not allowed to insult people.
Did he insult anybody though?
No.
It would be interesting to see what that charge sheet reads like.
Yeah.
Incitement. That's it.
Incitement and publishing false information.
According to whom?
According to
the state.
According to the state, yeah.
Okay, sour.
Publishing false information.
Yeah.
What are the grounds? What's the threshold for this information to be false?
My friend.
Publishing false information on X and committing cybercrime offences.
My friend, publishing false information. What then should we do with the CS for education?
CS for treasury.
It's true.
What else? Because they said
and it didn't happen, so it was false.
And we published it.
Yeah.
So what do we do with such people? Yeah. And the utterances, unfortunately, affect the entire nation. And we all read and heard. So what do we do? Because if you say it has been sent and has been sent, it's false.
It's true.
So what do we do with such people?
Who's
What is the yardstick?
What is the yardstick? That's what I'm asking you. What is the threshold for this false information? That means anything I open my mouth and say, if it doesn't happen, it's false.
Yes.
And if I didn't come back to you and said, for example, look here, I told you I was going to do this. Unfortunately, I was not able to, but here is now what I'm planning to do. But nobody's done that.
You've corrected it.
If you do come and say something like that, then you've corrected it. If you come back, and the good thing is that you are allowed to do it 1,000 times.
Yes.
You are allowed to come and say, okay, tomorrow. But then before tomorrow, you come and say, actually, you know what?
Hey, this thing.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen tomorrow. Just allow me some time. But you don't do that. You keep quiet. So then, can we also accuse you of spreading false information?
False information and misleading
without
the public.
Retracting anything?
Oh, my friend, if you were to take that.
We could stretch it proper.
And look at the impact on the nation. My friend, the things we can do with that one. So
abuse of human rights. We can talk about denial of such rights to children.
Basic rights.
We can go very, very far. We can talk about.
You start with just the rights, okay, and look at what you will have abrogated simply by that statement. But we don't do that, do we? So what is it that this particular individual has done which is worse than what we're saying?
Perhaps the particular individual should have just clapped even when there is wrong, or just shut up, because apparently here, if you criticize, you go inside, which for me, even the law itself, the constitution, gives you the right to speak, gives you the right to criticize the state.
You know what we're dealing here with is not someone who's criticizing the state. We're dealing with this thing of the headline, the Standard, the return of sycophants. There are people who seem to want to get the attention of high-ups in government, and they want to get the attention by showing that we are not putting up with anybody who seems to be criticizing you. Unfortunately, when you do that, what you've done is the whole world then knows something they didn't even know about. we suddenly know what the person said, and then we start questioning it.
Absolutely.
So what have you ended up achieving?
It is absolutely impossible for you to be on the right side of rain all the time. You cannot. It cannot be that everything I say, then you want to now start fanning the flames of the choir master. You can't do that. Even when something would appear as though it was blatantly wrong or, just flew in the face of any kind of decency, but you're going to support it just because, And the problem with psychophancy is that you support just about anything that comes into the door. That's what psychophancy is. The person could wake up today and say, you know what? It's dark, but because I have said the sun is shining, you support. Something that even appears, it is so clearly obvious that it has a problem. That's what psychophancy does.
And as well as just looking at that, the question then goes to so and so individual said ABCD. How about I just call them, listen to what it is they're saying, because perhaps whatever it is they're saying would help me in one way or the other. Because criticizing you is an opportunity for you to do better, but people don't look at it like that. They look at it as if you are attacking the authority.
That criticism gets you to understand what people are thinking. It's important for you to know. It's called the pulse, and that is not reading the pulse, that's hearing the pulse. The pulse is speaking to you, and the pulse is saying, this is how we understand these things. So if what I'm saying is not true, please correct me and tell me. Yes. And if you think by threatening me, you're correcting me, you are not. What you're doing is you're emboldening me. Saying, oh, I've hit a nerve, have I? Something which could have been a discussion and say, okay, why do you think this? Why is it that you have this opinion? And your response is, if you do not shut up, what I will do to you will be unspeakable.
Yeah, people in Migori would say, utajua pia omena ni samaki.
Si samaki, look See samaki? See samaki? While people are looking for omena to eat, while that is happening, funding from the DP's office has gone up. Let me tell you.
By what percentage?
Are you seated?
Yes.
The treasury disbursements by the office. This is the same treasury that said they cannot disburse school fees.
Yes.
Sawa. Treasury, or rather, let me just call it capitation, because people now start saying it's not school fees. Sawa. Treasury disbursements to the office of the Deputy President have nearly tripled since the ouster of the previous occupant, Rigathi Gachagua. The latest data, or the Exchequer releases shows. The data shows that since Mr. Gachagua was removed from office in October, Exchequer releases to the DP office have gone up by 164%. Well done. While the funding to the office amounted to 332 million shillings in 3 months to the end of September 24, this is where you need to hold on to the seat of your pants. They have since shot up to 875 million over an equal 3 months period to the end of December 2024. Annie, they've, had stuff to do. Mr. Gachagua was impeached, we know this, etc., and the events leading up to this saw that he was locked out of office. They went on and on. The current DP, Kithure Kindiki, was sworn in on November 1st, okay? The data on Treasury's release of money shows that Exchequer funding of the DP office averaged 110.6 million shillings monthly between last July and September. So this was when Rigathi Gachagua was there. Now, since October, when Mr. Gachagua was fighting for his survival and was eventually ousted, the Exchequer release shot up, and they've averaged 291 million shillings until the end of December 2024. You want to ask the question, what are you doing with 291 million shillings?
And all this thing happened after they shut the door on Rigathi Gachagua.
Yes, please.
So when the door is shut, things happen.
When the door is shut, money is spent, my friend. Okay, shh, I didn't say that out loud.
Can't say that loud.
Sorry.
Yeah, but with the new DP in place, new furniture.
Oh, new furniture, new staff, new car.
New cutlery, we have new bathtub and whatnot.
In
you
the
can't share these
office.
things.
In the office?
Yeah.
Where?
So
people have okay.
Why don't you pay attention to what the expert is telling you?
Oh, sorry.
So we need new china as well.
Okay.
So, why not? 200 million shillings.
They are saying, however, all the money released to the DP office through the first 6 months of the current fiscal year has been to fund recurrent activities such as payment of salaries and administrative expenses for the office and to fund travel.
Did they not fire everyone from Gachaga's office?
Yeah, see, now you hired new people.
You have
That's
hired
where
new
the salary comes from.
Okay. There's a compliment that there are a number of people who an office must have. So even if the other guys went, but if they were civil servants, why fire them? So you just take them somewhere else.
This is true.
The civil servants serving that office. I mean, it's an office of the deputy
Yes,
president.
they
They
not
could
his
still,
people who he employed. Unless that's what you're telling us.
They could still deliver.
They could.
In the same office.
Okay, let's see what happens. Good morning, 7 a.m.
.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm La Ubaga. The fire incident at Moi Girls High School in Kibra has been contained with all students accounted for. In a statement on X, Kenya Red Cross says the Nairobi City County Fire Brigade contained the situation which affected one dormitory, adding that there are no casualties. Kenya Red Cross says it has deployed its counselling team to offer psychosocial support services to those impacted by the incident, adding that they will provide 200 mattresses, 400 blankets and 200 dignity kits to the school. Nairobi Woman Representative Esther Pesaris has expressed deep concern and sadness over the recent spate of fires in schools following the latest incident being that of Moi Girls High School in Kibra. The body of slain political activist Richard Otieno has been taken to the Kericho County Referral Hospital morgue after it was recovered from a thicket near the Molo River in Turi. An irate mob earlier in the day stormed the Elbagon morgue where the body was initially preserved. After being found at the gate of Elbagon police station, the crowd forcefully took the body, that is on Sunday, and headed towards Molo in protest while condemning the mysterious murder. Molo Sub-County Police Commander Timon Odingo told journalists on Monday that the body was later found with the help of sniffer dogs. The widow of the late Otieno, Margaret Mihaki, a mother of two, has recounted how her husband was found badly mutilated.
Alinipigia simu akaniambia mama ndo nataka kukuja nifungulie gate, so immediately nikakuja kufungua gate. Before nifike kwa gate, I found the gate was already opened, so I just went back to the house. Kufika bedroom nikasikia somebody screaming. Tukapata ndo ni Richard. He was lying on the floor na alikuwa na deep cuts kwa kichwa.
Otieno has been a vocal critic of both the national government and the constituency's leadership led by MP Kimani. Now, President William Ruto is today scheduled to hold a cabinet meeting at the State House in Kakamega County from 8 a.m. all the way to 1 p.m. The meeting is aimed at reviewing various government projects being implemented in Western Region, that is in Busia, Kakamega, Bungoma and Vihiga counties. This is the second cabinet meeting to be held in Kakamega under Ruto's administration after the first meeting in August last year. After the cabinet meeting, Ruto will head to Shinyalu constituency to launch the last mile connectivity project.
Niko na baraza la mawaziri hapa Kakamega. Tupange mambo ya Kenya. Tukimaliza saa 8, mimi naenda pale Shinyalu. Kwa sababu tunahitaji kuunganisha stima kwa watu zaidi hapa Kakamega County. Na serikali ya Kenya tumetoa bilioni 2.6 kuunganisha wananchi 33,000 wapya kwa mambo ya stima.
And Ruto began his week-long tour of the Western region on Sunday, where he attended a multi-denominational service at Cheptais Boys High School in Bungoma. Yesterday, Ruto launched a bonus payment scheme for sugarcane farmers in Mumias, Kakamega County, where he reiterated his commitment to fulfilling promises he made to Kenyans.
Na msiwe na wasiwasi, hii siasa mingi inaendelea Kenya itafika mwisho yake. Kwa sababu si nyinyi ndio mtaweka mtihani. Si nyinyi ndio mtapitisha nani amefanya kazi nani hajafanya. Hawa watu ya makelele hii wanasumbua, wanapiga makelele sijui mitandao wapi. Hawa watu wako na kazi ngumu sana. Kushindana na mimi, hawa wako na kazi ngumu. wako na kibarua kubwa sana, na bado mimi napanga tu kazi. Siku yenye tunaangaliana hati siasa kwa maneno
That's the News Wire. I'm Leo Obaga.
SpiceFM, Nakuru.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jiajiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jiajiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
This new year, say yes to a new world of entertainment on Star Times. Enjoy the finest family entertainment on all your favorite channels. Recharge your subscription for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months. Kick off the new school year with a world full of adventures on our kiddie channels. The excitement of sports action in the Carabao Cup, Bundesliga and La Liga. Who will be the new champions? Edge of the seat action on our blockbuster movies. Fresh heart-stopping premium telenovelas plus more spectacular entertainment on your Star Times decoder. Download the Star Times On app to enjoy unlimited entertainment anytime, anywhere. Star Times. Enjoy digital life.
All right, at after 7 o'clock, traffic. We've not gotten to traffic hour just yet. Seems to be moving in different parts. Are you on the Uhuru Highway? Then good for you, because you're not stuck in anything, at least not for now. Getting past Haile Selassie out towards the CBD. However, if you are on the Thika Superhighway, you will see that traffic is busy. It's coming in all the way from Kasarani, even before that, Githurai, and it's heavy through towards Survey. All of that very busy. There is some traffic also on Limuru Road. Heading, and you're trying to come round Muthaiga Square to get out of that. It's busy this morning. Also, there is some traffic coming off Waiyaki Way through towards Chiromo. That's busy as well. But if you're on Langata Road, you're okay. Are you on Gong Road? I'm sorry, because certain parts of those junctions will give you some traffic this morning. Other than that, I think we're doing all right. Let's talk through it. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
It's 7 after 7. How about that? On this, if it was 7 after 7 on the 7th of 2027, you know, it'll happen. It'll happen one day. In 2027.
Yeah.
But okay. Good morning and welcome. If you're on the live streams on YouTube and Facebook, you're in the right place. If you're tuned in across the country on all our frequencies, you're in the right place. And if you've clicked in on KTN Home, or rather on KTN, you are also in the right place. It's Kenya's biggest conversation, getting into its second hour, and we will be having a conversation about which way for ODM, with a greater conversation being which way for the opposition. Homa Bay Town MP Peter Kaluma will be with us in a few minutes, and even as he gets in and gets settled, let's talk about the opportunities that are being provided for young people in this country, and in terms of what they can do to bridge certain gaps with the Tujiajiri program.
Yes, and KCB has seen a problem, which is unemployment rate in the country, which we talk about over 1 million young people who enter into labor market annually, and that is around 12.7% of youth age between 15 to 35. And KCB says because there's a problem, we'll come in and give a solution. Now, the solution we're talking about is to upskill and equally just take them through training and give them certification that they need. And some of the areas that KCB Foundation is looking at through the Tujiajiri is training, business development trainings, access to finance, financing the entrepreneurship, thus spurring growth and development of micro, small and macro economies. And with these, KCB is saying we will bridge these by giving you the skill that you can enhance, start your business, entrepreneurship, give you mentors, and make sure that you grow. And the sectors that they are looking into include construction, manufacturing, beauty and personal care, domestic care, automotive, creative economy, ICT, sustainable agriculture, and climate change initiatives, as well as health. These are the areas that KCB Foundation, through the Tujiajiri program, is looking at. And if you are interested and want to go through this, there is a rigorous process that you have to go through for you to get admission, because remember, it is a competitive process and everybody gets in by merit. So if you're interested, kcb.com/foundation.
Okay. I mean, it's great stuff, and I think that there's so many people who've been connected with an opportunity who otherwise would not have had one. So that work continues, and we keep talking about it for sure. All right. Do you think it's necessary to have an opposition?
Yes.
Why?
By all means necessary.
Why?
I mean, if you look at the formation of opposition back, say, during Kibaki's time, when the leader of opposition would come in, have shadow cabinet, and be able to just challenge government on, I think what you're doing is the wrong thing. Do it this way, and I think we will be able to give Kenyans good service.
Does it yield any results? Do you really think that because an opposition is in place, that when you have an eye on you, essentially watching everything that you do, that it will persuade you to always do the right thing? Do you think that that is what is one of the maybe salient but clear roles of an opposition? It's kind of like the monkey on your shoulder, that you are aware that it is there, but it is not in your foresight, but you know that it is there. Do you think that governments do what they're supposed to do as a result of the opposition being there?
I mean, let's say the opposition, let's talk about an opposition that I envision, an opposition that would say, okay, fine, there is SHA, because this is something that goes through the legislative arm of government to pass it into an act of parliament and all that. And before the rollout of this, perhaps the opposition would push you and stop you on your tracks and say, before we launch it, let us have a pilot program that will guide us on how well to implement, not essentially saying no to what it is you want to do, because that is a government project, but just helping by guiding you on what is necessary for the citizenry to get that which they deserve.
City, do you think there needs to be unity in that said opposition? Because obviously the opposition is made up of, like-minded individuals who did not make it into government for whatever reason, right? Is it necessary for them amongst themselves to be unified in purpose?
Political unity is often fostered by a commonality of purpose. Now, commonality of purpose, here, big words for something very simple. When their interests align.
Yes.
Okay. When they misalign, then they fall apart again. Because if you look at the politics of our country, many of these players have at one point or the other been in one party or the other. The musical chairs of our politics is known. It's in the public domain. There's nothing to talk about as though it was some big event. It's something that is normal. So these people know each other. They better still, they even understand each other.
Yeah.
So there's a point at which they haven't seen eye to eye. And give it time, usually they do tend to see eye to eye after a while. So as I said, when the interests align, they will either be in the opposition together or they will be in government together. When they misalign, then the togetherness will cease. Yes. So this isn't one of those profound philosophical things that you look at and you say, well forget it. Interests. Period. So just look at the direction that the interests have taken, and it'll give you an answer to the question. Being in the opposition, same. Is it ideological? It is stated as though it is, but it hardly ever is. And to understand it's just the recent inclusion into the broad-based government. Today, this government must. Appointment. My goodness gracious me, there is no more wonderful a government than this one on the planet of Earth. So
it even makes you make up words.
So you think, what on earth are we dealing with here? So once you've understood, focus on the word interests, okay? It will answer all the questions that you have regarding the opposition.
But essentially, City, what would be the perfect opposition in your own terms, aside from the current opposition that we're talking about in terms of aligning interests or not, the perfect opposition that you would want to see in the Republic?
Actually, I see it. It's not I want to see it. The perfect opposition is when you have a citizenry who have understood that these individuals we vote in, unless we keep them in check, they will never look after our interests. They will look after our interests when their interests are threatened. And it is threatened when they know that we are aware of what we are doing and we may decide to remove them. That is the perfect opposition. If you're talking about a democracy, when you have a citizenry who understand their position and they will exercise it, and those in authority know they'll exercise it, then those in authority, because of whether it's and in this case it's delegated, will behave. They will behave. But so long as the citizenry are asleep, then they'll be taken advantage of.
So who is the opposition then?
The people.
The people.
Absolutely. Because at the end of the day,
they are also the government.
The people are the opposition, the people are the government. Essentially, to whom that any action or to whom are held as sovereign.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
We forget it too often.
It is us on whom we are the duty bearers for the accountability we speak of, not the people we elect. We elect them to represent us, and when they don't, then we take back our rightful position. That is really what it is. Yes.
And I think that is what civic education ought to really harp on. Because for too long, for too far, I don't think that the majority of people actually do realize the sovereignty that is placed on their shoulders.
Many don't want that.
I mean, because it sounds like it's a lot of responsibility, and to an extent it is.
Oh yes,
that there are certain things that you must do, that you will not allow a situation where somebody cannot be held responsible or accountable for the things that you put in their hands. And what are we talking about? We're talking about the livelihoods of millions of people. We're talking about the funds that essentially would secure the livelihoods of millions of people. Whichever sector you want to look at it. So why don't we take it more seriously? We should actually take it more seriously, because here we are saying that an opposition should essentially oppose the excesses of government, right? In one way or another, ensure that you're oversighting these excesses and making sure that you're keeping things in check on behalf of the people. But if you go into this position of opposition and in your foresight is not really the security, the livelihoods of people, then you're going to have a very difficult time. And that is why it will be so easy for you to sing this song today and another one tomorrow, because the people that you essentially are representing are not the millions. It is you.
You actually cease to represent the people, you represent yourself.
Yes.
And that
you're representing yourself.
Yes, and that's where the citizenry and the sovereign must understand that you're the duty bearer to keep these people alert and to understand, remind them constantly.
Yeah.
Guy, you actually, yeah.
And I think even when we talk about our civic duty and civic education that needs to be there, we must remind the citizenry that this civic education, don't expect it to come from your leaders. This civic education starts with you and ends with you. Because those that you have delegated the duties to will come back with their own interest and whip you into these boxes that only satisfies them. Therefore, when you talk about civic education, it is we the people to sit down and look at how best we will play the role of both opposition and the government, because the power belongs to the people.
You see, this is why I'm actually, initially I may have been met with some like, oh, okay, what's going on here? But I'm not surprised. I'm actually not disappointed. Because for the longest time, we've been told what, leadership and how leadership regards you. You've been told over and over and over again. So when somebody sings this song tomorrow and then goes from harmony to melody the next day, or is even singing some cacophonous thing when it's time to sing tomorrow, and then we're surprised, well, what did you expect? That is not what their intent was from the very beginning. And we should be able to look across and say, you know what, I'm very sure in my mind that this individual or this group of people is very concerned about the livelihoods and development and making sure that good governance and leadership is reigning above all. You should be able to. But you heard these things over and over again. That is why it doesn't surprise me when you hear somebody, berating, insulting a leader and then tomorrow is heaping praises on his head. Same mouth, same leader. That's why it doesn't surprise me, because their intent from the very beginning was not for you. And so they can move as it suits them. And you must realize it is them that it suits.
Yeah, and I think it's a bad time that the citizenry as well. I look forward to a day when a certain member of parliament will be recalled and be told,
it will happen,
and be told, you are not serving our interest. This is not why we sent you to the National Assembly, to the Senate, and I look forward to that day, City.
Did you ever think that we would have a deputy president impeached in this country?
No one actually saw that coming.
Did you imagine? I hadn't imagined it. When we had governors, we understood that governors could be impeached.
Yeah.
But did we ever see a situation where a governor would be impeached? No. We've had several impeached.
Impeached, yeah.
And impeached, properly gone, dusted, finished. That story has ended. And hallelujah for the new year. Okay, yeah. So once you see that process taking place, then the impossibility factor has been removed.
Yeah.
It is a possibility. MPs are much smaller fry than a governor or a deputy president.
And you see the beauty of all this impeachment, because we were looking at governors being impeached and we thought, it's just a governor. The deputy president was impeached, and that just opened a new door. The president could also be impeached because it is the people.
The path that had previously not been trodden has now been trodden. So it is clear that, yes, we now see the way.
The doors are open.
Wide.
Well, I mean, those are some of the things that we look at. And when we talk about the fact that folks are still trying to ensure that their way in the opposition is solid and kept, it is on such times that we then invite members of parliament, such as George Peter Kaluma, who is the Homa Bay town MP, to have these conversations with us. And he will do a number of things this morning. First on the agenda, greeting us Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Yeah. How are you?
Happy New Year, City. Happy New Year, brother Njugos. I hope you're doing well.
We are fine.
Great.
Yeah.
Happy New Year to all Kenyans.
Exactly. Well, thank you very much for doing that.
Too late into the year.
Let me tell you.
SpiceFM is the home.
We are happy to see you.
Yeah, great. Happy to see you.
We would have been happier.
Yes.
If we had seen you 21 minutes ago.
Yeah, there is a problem with the jam. The current government is doing a lot around the roads. But
they've been doing it for a while.
2 years?
2 years. This particular
quite some work. Quite some work. The roads are many across Kenya. But again, the schools have opened.
Yeah.
And so there is a lot of traffic jam.
Yeah.
But so I'm very sorry. I'm very sorry I'm arriving late.
See?
I always keep time.
We end up there eventually.
I want to start the new year in an apologetic note.
Okay. I believe it was your colleague Millie Odhiambo who said, before when we used to demand, now we
request,
encourage.
Yes, old dogs never learn new tricks. Some of the problems we have.
I have seen old dogs learning new tricks.
I've seen old dogs learning new tricks.
I used to be told that dogs don't eat vegetables. I've seen dogs eating vegetables.
No, my dear, it's the economy.
I've even seen dogs eating fruits.
When a dog is used to tialala tipping, they may have difficulties discussing national issues on the table.
Bwana Kaluma, thank you so much for being here. There's a lot to talk about, but let's welcome you quickly. CT gets the proverbs, and he'll tell you where we are this week, and he'll tell you the proverb for today, which I think is quite an interesting one.
We are in the Republic of Rwanda, okay? Landlocked country in the Great Rift Valley of Africa. The sharpness of the tongue defeats the sharpness of the warrior.
City, the tongue can do more damage than a single warrior or a contingent of them. You remember what happened in Rwanda? Just a single statement or two, and the nation was inflamed, and you had the genocide. You know what happened in Kenya before. A single statement coming especially from a leader because being a leader means you are followed, can either inflame people positively, not positively, inflame people negatively, or excite people to do, positive things. It's like the single statement you saw President, Trump make yesterday, that there are only two gender categories, male and female.
That's it.
See, the whole world is swept into it.
Yes.
When just the other day, you remember, I was in this studio fighting very hard for that common thing which is so obvious. And because those other past leaders were speaking the opposite, we would not get it. So the tongue is a very powerful tool.
So we ought to be careful.
The Bible also, warns that be careful about what comes out of your tongue.
Indeed.
Yes.
I think that's great. So then it's also maybe a warning about how we must be very careful what we say, especially when you have a platform, when you have the ears of millions of people every day.
Certainly.
So a lot of things are being said in Kenya at the moment. There's a lot of spewing of, political barbs. There are many things that are being said. But even as we take that into consideration, let's look at the way forward that we've been talking about over the last few weeks. And that ODM, which has stood firmly for the longest time in the position of opposition, seems to have, I said it this morning, gotten into bed with the government and then had a baby.
Yeah, not necessarily. I've been here before, Ndu.
Yes.
I think a number of us are not alive to the structure of government in the new constitution.
Okay.
Before the current constitution, we had a parliamentary system of government. And so that constitutional order had a government side and an opposition side. Okay? And so when you went to our parliament, the members of parliament were also ministers. So they were government side. The other side were opposition, and they had what we called, shadow, ministers. In the current system, in our new constitution, we are a presidential system. In a presidential system, everyone is in government. Okay? So if you look at Article 4 of the Constitution, it tells you Kenya is a multi-party democratic state.
Yes.
Okay? And most of those parties that qualify, including the ODM party, are funded by the taxpayer.
Yes.
For that important role in governance they play. When you go to parliament, therefore, you don't have the government side and the opposition side. You have the majority side
and the minority
side. And so parliament as an institution, unlike before, is now required to oversight the government. And that is the work of what was opposition then.
Okay.
In an ideal situation, it should be Chungwa as majority leader leading our attack on government if there are wrongdoings, if there are abductions, if there are maladministration, if there is bad governance. It should actually be Chungwa leading the attack. Now, instead of accepting that obvious situation, you get people still saying you are opposition. There is a side which can, do whatever they want because they are in some imaginary government. That is not how it should work. So the structure we have, even when you look at how resources are dealt with, be it under devolution, be it public appointments. I took Kenyans through Article 232 of the Constitution the other day, where he said, when you are constituting, for instance, offices in public service, we will have the face of Kenya. It does not tell you the face of Kenya in terms of Kenyans whose president was elected. It is everybody, okay, with the merit, with the competences to serve the country. And that is why I gave you an example last time, that you have this American ambassador who returned, Meg Whitman.
Whitman, yeah.
Yes, Whitman was a Republican. She was posted here as ambassador by the Democratic Party. You get what I'm talking about? It matters not.
Because a government, the ideology of what you should do as government remains it remains front and center. It is the first item on the agenda.
Correct.
So from whatever side that you're on, that if they see this as somebody with an ideological base, they can be sure that this person will deliver no matter what.
Yes, correct. And if there is something that is wrong, like you remember I was telling you, CT, the other day, that you must be out of your mind as a Kenyan to speak for something like abduction. Because abduction is the worst form of torture you can ever have. And when you go even to our Bill of Rights in the Constitution, you will be told that only 3 rights, excluding even the right to life, cannot be limited.
Okay.
The right to life can be limited. When you commit capital offenses, we will order you to be hung. But something like freedom from torture cannot be limited. Why? When you, for example, abduct a person, for the parents of those people, for the relatives, for the friends, for those who know them, you are killing them each and every second because they don't know your lot as a human being. And so in unanimity, wherever the side of government you are, when something is wrong, like abduction, you must come forth and say, this is wrong, whoever is doing it must stop. And so let me, to go straight to your question, tell you that ODM is a very united party.
Okay, let me ask you a question based on what you've just said.
United.
2 gentlemen, in the last couple of days, number one, Secretary General of ODM, Edwin Sifuna, was actually seated where you're seated today. He said outside of here, in this room, and also later on in some of his other engagements, basically said the same thing. They basically twinned in statements with Siaya Governor James Orengo. And this is what they said, essentially, that ODM cannot be seen to continue heaping praises on Ruto's government because a number of the individuals have been made part of government. That you must be very clear where the lines are. Essentially, that is what they said. How does that then now pair with what you're saying?
It falls to what I'm saying. In fact, we are saying the same thing.
In fact, I think the words that James Orengo used was, ODM must not be part of Ruto's praise and worship team.
That is our policy. We are in the business of saying what is right, or praising what is good as good, okay? As we are also in the business of criticizing positively what is wrong or constructively. If something is wrong, we have to say it is wrong. If something is good, we have to say it is good. Let me tell you, Ndu. I've been in the Security Committee since 2013. How many terrorist attacks have you seen this year? People may not know, and we don't quite disclose these things. But if I told you the number of attempts by terrorists to enter this country which have been thwarted by the police, you would be shocked. And so when the police do well, I'll say, on this, you've secured Kenyans. When Kenyans disappear and the police, which is the long arm of government, cannot tell us where they are, I'm also in my right place as an ODM member to say there is a lapse in regard to how we are being policed, at this level. And so let me say that Orengo, Sifuna are right. I don't know why Kenyans are imbibing things which personally I don't listen to. They are saying as ODM, we are not in the business of being praise and worship people. But we are also not in the business of just criticizing negatively for the sake of it.
But let me clarify what Edwin Sifuna said. He said ODM leaders in government must stop being sycophants. That doesn't come from a place where he's trying to just say that the party must praise what is good and then, castigate what is wrong. He's saying essentially that ODM leaders who have gone into government have become sycophants for government. And this is coming from a place where it is frowned upon.
Let me clarify a few things. People have been saying ODM is not in government. ODM is in some imaginary opposition, which I can challenge you. Show me that thing you call opposition in our structure of government in the Constitution, and I'll give you 1 million. You will not get it. Okay?
You will not get the 1 million? Or you
will not get opposition in our structure of government. So you must understand people like Orengo coming from the old Constitution still singing, opposition. But let me clarify the following. You have the minister in charge of national treasury and economic planning, a member of ODM. I want you to take them down. You have then the minister in charge of mining and blue economy in ODM, meaning all the wealth of the nation under the earth and under the waters is an ODM member. Remember, they resigned from being officials, but they remain members of the Party. ODM. And when we talk about blue economy, there is a reason as to why we changed it from waters, Njugos, to blue economy. Okay? Kenya has an exclusive economic zone which comes from the shore 200 nautical miles into the Indian Ocean. That is our area for exclusive economic exploitation, whether it is petroleum that is discovered, whether it is fish stocks, whether it is crabs, everything. That is our wealth. So all wealth in Kenya under the earth and under the waters, both the oceans and the internal waters, are under Joe. Oparanya, who was a deputy party leader of ODM, now a member of ODM, is in charge of cooperatives, micro, small and medium enterprises, meaning all finances beyond mainstream financial institutions and big companies like Standard Media Group are under the charge of ODM. Wandai is the Minister for Energy and Petroleum Development. For my car to move here,
if Wandai says we are
moving across here, these lights we are seeing is a member of the ODM. Now, beyond that wealth of Kenya, and let us be factual, an ODM member, Beatrice Askol, is the Minister for East African Community and Regional Integration. You know, East African Community is now Somalia, South Sudan, Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi, Ethiopia. You know, Ethiopia is being processed, but is on board. Kenya, and then you have DRC. A single DRC can feed the entire world. Now, so, that is also under ODM. Now, I want to ask you a question, though. Is it that these people who are saying ODM is not in government are the ones who do not know, or they are taking Kenyans for fools? You can have your members running those portfolio in government, and you look at Kenyans in the face and say you are in some opposition thing.
Okay.
I mean, who is taking who?
But
for fools. So the fact of the matter is what I told you.
Yes.
All political parties, all Kenyans are in the government of the Republic of Kenya.
It's one big happy
party. But they are in different political formations.
Okay,
Look at what happened in the US yesterday.
Kaluma, I want to go to
everybody, including Biden, if you asked them today,
they said they are
who
part
is
of
the president of the United States of America, Biden will tell you.
It's Trump.
It is President Trump.
But
everybody falls in line. In Kenya, after election, when we say now we have a president, we are a constitutional democracy, let us wait for the next election. People say, oh, you are now in bed. In bed with what?
Okay.
You're a Kenyan.
Kaluma, I need you to answer this question before we go to break. Your Secretary General has said very clearly that leaders of this government, which you have said is very clear that everybody now belongs to, should not be sycophants because they are still members of the ODM party. What do you have to say about that? Because
let me tell you,
there's an element of sycophancy which has now been seen to be the issue. Not just cabinet secretaries, but also members of parliament who are still ODM members. So where would that come from?
Let me tell you, Sifuna is the Secretary General of the party.
Yes.
And Sifuna is the official spokesperson of the party.
Indeed.
But we must draw a line between what he speaks on behalf of the party. Like, you remember the statement he was reading after the Central Management Committee meeting. I don't know where it could be contradicted by us. With what Sifuna says outside of the party as an individual. Now, Sifuna has said that ODM cannot play sycophancy to government. And I can tell you he's 100% right. Even if he's saying that by himself as an individual, as he did, away from the party. He's very right. We are not in the business of sycophancy. Yet we'll also not be in the business of criticizing for the sake of it. we will always agree as ODM members, and let me end this by this, if you would permit to. As ODM members, I've never heard of any disagreement in principle among us, because the ideals of the ODM party are very clear. What we need to fight for as party members are very clear. What I see as disagree on at times are approaches and timing. And that may be misinterpreted by some people to be psychophancy, which it may not necessarily be. You know, a wise person knows how best to approach an issue so that you succeed. A wise person also knows when to talk what and to whom and in what manner.
In what manner?
Yes, so where we've been disagreeing, which has been portrayed by the media, though, that there could be some disagreement, in ODM. With Sifuna, sometimes with Orengo, when people, look at us, are the kind of approaches we need to adapt as we pursue the agenda of ODM as of this time. You remember now.
I want to take a break, and we can come back and look at that. Homa Bay Town MP George Peter Kaluma is our guest this hour. We're looking at, so which way forward? There's been so much talk in government, not in government. Okay, so if then, so what? We'll take a break and we're back right after this.
This is the Situation Room. The only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
At 7:42 a.m. in Nairobi, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Kakamega County, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In Mombasa, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 25 degrees. In Nyeri Town, highs of 28 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. In Nakuru City, highs of 28 degrees and lows of 12 degrees. In Lagos, Nigeria, highs of 33 degrees and lows of 26 degrees. Johannesburg, South Africa, highs of 26 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In City Muga's favorite city, Kinshasa, Congo, DRC, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 23 degrees. But in Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 26 degrees. Furthermore, in Paris, France, highs of 4 degrees and lows of -1 degrees. And in China, highs of 9 degrees and lows of -4 degrees. That is the weather. These are good morning.
Sugar and spice and everything
Spice up your life.
Heavy traffic on the Thika Superhighway this morning, and it is trying to creep in. It's really heavy coming all the way from Githurai, and it's going to pass Kasarani out towards Garden City, and then you're going to get on to Survey. It's going to clog up quite some. There's also traffic on Kiambu Road this morning, all coming in from the Northern Bypass, and it will touch on traffic coming in through Gigiri and then out onto Limuru Road. All right, some traffic also on Wayaki Way heading out towards Chiromo. Wangari Maathai Way will also give some of that traffic going out towards the museums area and then onto Huru Highway. It is busy, very busy on parts of Ngong Road, and that also will stretch out towards traffic that will go out into the direction of Raila Odinga Way. There's some traffic coming in on Langata Road, that's busy, then touching on Raila Odinga Way as well, and then heading out towards Aerodrome. Mombasa Road is busy. Southern Bypass not too bad, busy on Mombasa Road, but we're not at any bumper to bumper situations. Where it is bumper to bumper is on parts of the Eastern Bypass, and it's going to touch on Embakasi and heading out towards the Cabanas interchange. We're going to keep an eye on all of this, and we try to keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag the Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
At a quarter to 8 o'clock, Homa Bay Town MP George Peter Kaluma is with us, and we're looking at, so which way? ODM.
You know, the discourse that arises from understanding the systems of government that a country has is the discussions are worth having, because one of the things that is clear is whenever people talk, it demonstrates their understanding of whatever system it is that we're talking about. We are in a presidential system, and yet, again, and Mheshimiwa Kaluma has stated quite clearly, there are people who bring forth arguments, and you get the impression that they still think that we are in a parliamentary system of government. That having been said, explain so that it is understood, Mheshimiwa, what it is then, if I'm to go by what you've said, that in a presidential system there is, and according to our constitution, there is no opposition, so to speak. So what then is the role of the elected leader who is in parliament and who is not directly involved in the day-to-day running of the government as a member of the executive?
Yes, so the role of parliament in a presidential system is what the role of our parliament are. If you look at Articles 93 to 96, you'll get all of them there. And these roles are three. And they are roles of parliament, not the government side or opposition, because those do not exist in a presidential system. Those roles are representation. Those roles are legislation. Those roles are oversight. Oversight is supervision. It is the role that in a parliamentary system vests in the opposition. And that is why I started by telling you that ideally the person who should be leading our opposition against bad government policies, if for instance the finance bill has problems, is the majority leader. The majority leader, if you look at Article 1.8 of the Constitution, is the majority leader of the House, not of a side. But when you see our majority leader speak, you may think he's for one side. And it started with Duale. When you speak as a majority, you are a leader of the entire House, and you are differently facilitated from other members, of course. And that is what it should be. The leader, therefore, has to say if anything is wrong. Like you remember, there is a time I came to KTN and I had to walk out of the station. Yes. Remember in 2003, after the killing of so many people in Kisumu on 21st July of that year. And you had the IG Ndu saying that nobody was killed. Nobody was killed. The MPs and the leaders in that part of Kenya just hired corpses and went parading them. And as the person who led our team in seeing the bodies who were shot in the head, in their heart, in their loin, at Jaramogi Oginga Odinga, I said, no, this can't be the IG I work with in the security sector. I can't have vetted this guy. And remember, I walked out of this station when a member of parliament was saying, the IG is right, those were hired bodies. I'm saying, when you are a member of parliament, whether it is a wrong or bad governance being meted out to your side or the other side, your duty is to speak for the entire country for their good governance. That is where it is.
No, those who crafted our constitution envisioned an ideal presidential system where the president's role in parliament was not what we see now. Because in a parliamentary system, the leader of government will come from the party that is the majority, and this leader will have sway in the executive as well as parliament because he is the leader of the majority. However, in a presidential system, that is not to be the case. Why didn't we envision a situation where we would have a president or a presidency that actually has ensured that it actually has a say in the happenings and the goings on in parliament?
Let me tell you, the leadership of government in the United States, which has just gone out, was by President Trump. Trump did not have majority in the House.
No, the outgoing.
Yes, the outgoing
was Biden.
Sorry, Biden.
Yes.
Sorry, I was mixing. Now, Biden, the majority leadership in the House of Congress was a Republican.
Yes.
Because the Republicans were the majority.
Yes, they were.
Okay?
Yes.
And that is why I am saying we need to understand our new constitutional setup. In Kenya, when we went to elections in 2022, the results of the election in truth is that the Azimio side were the majority. MPs. And you saw the regime believe that there cannot be a parliament where they are minority when they have the presidency. And so the UDM parties were, taken in, and that took 7 MPs from us immediately. And that tilted the balance. And I can tell you the case over who is the majority side in parliament is in court even to date. You get what I mean? But I'm saying that is so, and those disputes are there because we've refused to understand that you may have a president who has the minority members in parliament. And that howsoever it is, parliament as an institution altogether must oversight the executive, and that is why they fight. So they fight to have majority, even when it means co-opting parties, so that they can infiltrate the institution of parliament, from which they are already kept by the constitution. Get what it is? And so it is bad governance, and it is a weakness in our system that allows people to swift positions without, due regard to the constitution and the law. Otherwise, don't blame it on the president. Blame it on the parties, the weak parties, and the weak individuals who allow themselves to be swayed anyhow.
Kaluma, I hear you say that in the current presidential system, that majority leader in the House is essentially supposed to lead troops in House in checking excesses or the bad that is being done by the executive. But that has not been the case if you look at how things have been. If you look at Opiyo Ndai has been leading the troops in checking the excesses in the National Assembly, which has come out to look as though ODM has been the opposition, if you may. But here we are now, Opiyo Ndai is out. Sifuna, who is the Secretary General of the party, has come out with the position that ODM will not sing kumbaya to the to government. Here you say you are in government. So in terms of now that Wandai is not there, who will be checking the excesses, because Ishungo will not be doing that?
So
and has not shown any signs of doing that.
Under the constitution, and we are a constitutional democracy, it is the business of all members of parliament in both the National Assembly and the Senate. To oversight government. And there is something I've been saying, that Sifuna is right. We are not in the business of sycophancy. Let all keep to the constitutional mandate. The reason as to why some people have been singing, you are in opposition, is the mindset that when you are in opposition, you are not entitled to resources of government, including public service appointments. And so they have sung this thing to people whose candidate is never elected, to exclude them. And that is what I'm saying no to. I'm saying that our constitution expects that once any government is constituted, when you are, sharing resources, there must be equity across the nation. That is why you have things like devolution. I've said that this must be so, and that is why when you look at Article 232 of the Constitution, it tells you all Kenyans will be in every level of government at all cadres, all ethnic groups, minorities, and others. Now, the people singing to you, you are in opposition. In their head are people who imagine we went for a contest, we won. And so because we have the president, everything is ours. And that is the noise you've been seeing people saying, ODM has now gone into government. I mean, let me give you the example, though.
Yeah, please.
When cabinet was kicked out and a new one was constituted, let me tell you, the first to be nominated, my brother, were 11. And this 11, if you looked at it, President Ruto took 5. And those 5, he gave the Minister for Health to Western Kenya, gave the Minister for Education to Nyanza. I don't know whether you remember. The entire Rift Valley only gave Chirchir, Minister for Roads. The other one was Mvuria in Kwale. And his 5th was Duale. You see how he looked at the nation. He gave 5 to Gachagua. And Gachagua took, not 5, 6. And he took all those 6 to Mount Kenya. And you remember that very Sunday he was in a church saying, we had 8 cows. I've returned 6. I'm searching for the other 2. And you didn't even hear the Gen Z saying, there is a problem. When I made noise in Parliament, remember that day, and you interrogated me here, and I'd committed a sin, I was preaching tribalism. When I said, no, you cannot have people from largely 2 regions of the country, or just one region plus a few droppings, and then you leave other Kenyans. If you don't appoint other people by tomorrow, we will kill this list. And so you remember, then that very tomorrow, Mbadi and others are appointed. Do you remember? Now, when they are appointed, see what Raila did. And sometimes give credit when it is due. ODM is then given 5. You have a Suba minority. You have Wandai Aluo. You have Beatrice Askol at Turkana. You have Joe from the coast. You have Oparanya from Western. You see how they are distributed. You get what I'm talking about? What happened beginning that evening? Raila, whom people had no issue with when Gachagua was taking 6 to Mount Kenya, immediately became a conman, a traitor, who was now benefiting from Gen Z blood. You see, the mindset is that the ODM side, whose candidate did not get presidency, should be nowhere. And even after that, Yugus, and let us speak about these things, frankly, yeah? The other day, President Ruto meets with President Uhuru Kenyatta. And as an ODM member, I say, that is good. Let leaders meet. Yesterday, Trump was being sworn. And you saw all presidents, including Biden. Yeah. And by the way, whose candidate he defeated. All of them, including Bill Clinton, Bush, you saw them there. And I said, this is beautiful. Our leaders need to be meeting. It's then given 6 positions, very big positions, by the way.
I understand this, and I think
no.
I know this is the question.
I know you now want to stop me.
No, I don't want to stop you.
I know you now want to stop me.
I don't want to stop you. See, this is the thing about a highway. This is the thing about a highway is that you don't stop in the middle of the highway. Yes. It's possible that you will take a left turn or you will take a right turn as you go. And this is my question here. And I'm going to be in the position right now of many Kenyans who are asking the question that all the things that you're saying, Kaluma, make sense.
Yes.
Not a problem here.
Yes.
But not too long ago, this kumbaya moment where everybody is friends and loving one another is great, but it was not the case. That people said significantly different things. People behaved in a significantly different manner. So the people of Kenya, not this party that you all are having here, the people of Kenya whom you represent are saying, okay, so where do you actually stand? And who are you actually representing? How do you answer those Kenyans?
Are we saying that this constitution ushered in an era where being in the opposition has nothing to do with having been in a party that was defeated in an election? And you're saying that the new constitution actually allows for a situation where even those who were defeated in an election, because we do not have an opposition, as stated in our constitution, can be co-opted into government because we only have majority and minority. Is that what you're saying?
And as well, as we talk about that, there is something that Ndu is raising. The Kumbaya moment that we have. The Cabinet Secretary for Treasury, as we speak right now, John Mbadi, even the current Finance Act that we're using, he opposed it. He was really against it in 2023. How is it now that he's implementing something that he did not believe in?
Yes, so CT put the question clear. Is it the case that when you don't capture power and you go into the opposition, then you just, behave as
if... Is it that if you don't capture power, you then go into opposition?
Now number one, there is no position.
Yes.
And that is what I started by saying.
Yes.
When you don't capture power as a presidential candidate, you are at home. You are not in the governance structures. Your members of parliament have a role together with other members of parliament to jointly oversight government.
Oversight
I told you, is supervision. It is saying you are right here, continue, okay? You are wrong here, stop it, because it is not good for the country.
But Kaluma, leaders from the majority party have never oversighted the government. Honestly, we see that every day.
No, Dennis, it's not leaders in the majority. It is the political class. the understanding of oversight is tied in and embedded with the hip
of the opposition, which does not exist.
Yes.
You get it? And so when Kaluma says, for instance, today, that on this, President Ruto, you've done well, you get people who do not understand where he's coming from, coming to shout, Kaluma is now a sycophant. You know what I mean? Because they expect Kaluma to be in some opposition.
I have 20 seconds.
Yes.
What should Kenyans think, really, about this and say, okay, the people who represent us, which way should we follow?
Let us follow the constitution and the law. We are a rule of law country. That is important for me. Let us not, insist there are government and opposition side. We don't have that. Let us all look for the good of the country and let us agree to the situation that all are in government and all have to play their role for the good of the entire country.
Hometown MP George Peter Kaluma has been our guest this hour and says, you know what, it's everybody. We're all doing this together. And that's how we should think about it. These conversations must continue. Good morning. It is 8 o'clock.
Online, mobile, and on radio. www.spiceradio.co.ke.
Good morning. This is the News Wire. I'm Leah Obaga. And patients continue to be stranded across public hospitals as the clinical officers' strike enters day 2 today, even after the government said that it had addressed the issues that raised. KUKO chairperson Peterson Wachira says the government has allegedly ignored their cries, which include implementation of SHA for health workers, promotions, as well as salary increments.
But we are not going to take any promissory notes, and especially on the issue of the Social Health Authority, because there is no difference when we are at work and when we are not at work, because we cannot be able to pre-authorize, we cannot be able to see patients through the Social Health Authority. And so we are going to remain on strike until that day that we will be able to see our clinical officers pre-authorized and our facilities empaneled. And we also see goodwill in the implementation of the Return to Work Agreement.
The Council of Governors have, however, called on clinical officers to call off their strike that started yesterday, saying that some of the key issues that had driven them to down their tools have been resolved. Council of Governors Labour Committee Chair Governor Johnson Sakaja said the authority shall henceforth pay sharp benefits to the said licensed facilities and practitioners by the Clinical Officers Council, as well as undertake continuous capacity building of the Clinical Officers Council to enhance efficiencies in the SHA processes.
In view of the aforementioned resolutions, we call upon the Kenya Union of Clinical Officers to call off the ongoing strike to ensure service delivery in county facilities and in all facilities do not grind to a halt. We had a meeting last week where we discussed the major issues. We have set a technical committee between the COG and the clinical officers, the council, and we gave them 21 days to actually go over the issues and to have a draft CBA that then will be cascaded to the counties.
The family of activist Richard Otieno, who was brutally murdered in Elbagon Molo constituency on Saturday, is crying for justice and calling on security agencies to arrest those responsible for his killing. Margaret Mihaki, Otieno's wife, has expressed her grief over the loss of her beloved husband. Otieno's widow says her husband had no enemies other than political rivals due to his activism. Mihaki burst into tears, urging the police to expedite the investigation to arrest those who killed her husband.
No, my husband was a very loving person. He was very supportive. I don't think he had any enemy here around Elbagon. The only person maybe could do that, it could be, I don't know, he had no enemy, but maybe due to the way he was criticizing the government and maybe he was opposing about the finance bill and everything, and he was leading maandamano. I think that's where the enemy started. Yes, and from there things has not been good because he has been taken to court. Yeah. So I think he could be involved in this. I feel so bad. Na nataka justice yake ipatikane. When thought ikipatikana, I feel vibaya because he never come back again.
Otieno's family lawyer, Rosalinda Wamai, said the family had expected police officers to have already begun an investigation, but no detective has been seen following up on the matter.
Actually, we have not seen anything on the ground. We had expectations that today a number of people might have been summoned by the DCI. We also had expectations that at least homicide officers should come and sit or on site of it on the ground, at least to collect the evidence, because this is the investigative stage, but actually we have not seen anything.
Now, the late Otieno was at the forefront of defending the rights of the members of the community, holding leaders accountable, as well as opposing the controversial finance bill during the Gen Z protests last year. And finally, in the international scene, President Trump has signed an executive order granting TikTok a 75-day extension to comply with a law that requires a sale or ban of the platform. He says during that time, the U.S. will not enforce the law passed by Congress last year and signed by former President Joe Biden. The order was among a slew of directives Trump signed on Monday evening. That's the news wire. I'm Le Obaga.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
This new year, say yes to a new world of entertainment on StarTimes. Enjoy the finest family entertainment on all your favorite channels. Recharge your subscription for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months. Kick off the new school year with a world full of adventures on our kiddie channels. The excitement of sports action in the Carabao Cup, Bundesliga and La Liga. Who will be the new champions? Edge of the seat action on our blockbuster movies. Fresh heart-stopping premium telenovelas plus more spectacular entertainment on your StarTimes decoder. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy unlimited entertainment anytime, anywhere. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
All right, we're at a few minutes after 8 o'clock and traffic is continuing in most parts of the city this morning. It has been heavy on the Thika Superhighway coming in from Githurai through Garden City out towards Wangari Maathai on one side and the other side Moranga Road. That is very busy, bumper to bumper in many parts. Also on Kiambu Road, many lanes there, but it's not because of they all going in both directions. It's that many lanes have formed trying to find their way towards Muthaiga Square. Also lots of traffic on Limuru Road coming in from Gigiri. That whole area is busy. Lower Kabete to Spring Valley, folks have decided traffic hour, we're here for it today. Wayaki Way also busy in and outbound. As you pass that Chiromo Junction, it'll be there for a minute. And there is traffic on Uhuru Highway. We're looking at the junction between Aerodrome on one side, Bunyala on the other, and then going towards Haile Selassie. Very busy. Langata Road also starting to pile up. Some of that will spill over towards Raila Odinga Way, but for now that doesn't look too bad. Gong Road coming in from your junctions, Naivasha Road, touching on Gong Road, and then going out towards Riara Road, and then on towards James Gishuru. All of this is piling up this morning. We are in traffic hour at a few minutes after 8 o'clock. Let's see what it does this morning. We'll be here for it. Help us out as well to keep things moving. SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings
done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Is 8 minutes after 8 o'clock into the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. We're looking into a precious conversation this hour. You know, precious. When you think about precious, I'm not talking about myself, I'm talking about gemstones.
Yes.
I just had to throw that in there. Our audiences on our live streams, YouTube and Facebook, thank you always for being here. And of course, our audience on KTN and across frequencies around Kenya and indeed around the world, thank you for being here this morning. All right, like I said, we're having a precious stones conversation, moving mine just a little bit. But let's remind you about what the 2G Ajiri program is doing in Kenya for young people as we get into that.
Yeah, and when you talk about the KCB 2G Ajiri program, it is a program that is giving solutions to the unemployment problem that we have not only in the country but in Africa. And KCB says because there is a problem, we will step in and offer solutions to the existing problem. And with that, the young people have been upskilled, have been taken through classes, they've been given certification, all these in making sure that they are able to start their businesses, entrepreneurship skills given to them, and they are able to grow. ICCT, smiling city. When you talk about certification, NITA, TVET, how important are these institutions in making sure that the 2G Ajiri program is a success?
You know, someone may actually have the knowledge that they need to be able to conduct a certain business or to ensure that they do something specific or add value to it. But what often happens is somebody wants authentication of that capacity, and usually it is in a paper form. Now, there are institutions whose job it is to provide you with that element of credibility, because it is credibility. Is this knowledge credible? Is there a standard that it has met? Now, that's what certification does. It authenticates that qualification and says you are able to. That's what it is actually saying. Yes. Because the body that says it is known to do precisely that, to authenticate and to ensure that what it is saying is actually true.
True. Yes. And we're talking about 150,555 jobs that have been created, and 35,195 youth have been trained, incubated 10,954 youth into the system, and 267 million shillings loans have been supplied, and issued 2,225 startup toolkits, teaming up with companies like Bosch in making sure that the equipment you get is not just any other, but the top of the top that there is in the market, and 6,535 businesses on financial planning as well. Young people have been trained on that, and all this information is available on kcbgroup.com/foundation.
You don't have to dig too far to find it, but we're getting into a conversation about things that perhaps you need to dig a little bit deeper to actually find. Alice Muthama is the director at Rockland Jewelers, and you ask, okay, so what are we doing? CT getting another ring for his wife? Are we looking at getting no? That's not what we're doing this hour. But you know, there's your plug, CT. So Alice is here this morning, and we're discussing something that I think for a lot of moments isn't really looked into in terms of Kenyans who are doing work in this sector, who are business people in this sector, and what it means for them. Usually, when we talk about gemstones and precious stones and things like that, it's usually of an extractive nature where external parties come in and for whatever licenses they have or requirements that are made of them, they're now able to do business and take these precious stones or metals outside the country. So now Kenyans taking advantage of what is here in Kenya, but then there are certain guidelines or regulations that guide, obviously, the business. And those are some of the things that we'll be talking about this morning. And Alice Muthama, good morning to you and karibu sana.
Oh, morning. Good morning, everybody. And I'm really honored, and it's such a pleasure to be here this morning to just discuss about the gemstone subsector.
Right. Also, we're glad that we're here, that you're here, and as we do that, as what we normally do on this show is that we welcome you and situation room fashion, you are in the hot seat, but let's cool things down a little bit for you. CT goes around the continent every week. Don't ask me how he goes to a different African country every week. Use your imagination. And he comes back with a basket full of proverbs every week from a different country. So we'd like to share that one with you this morning. Tell us what you think about it and how you would interpret it. Does that work?
Sure.
Okay.
It works.
We are in the Republic of Rwanda.
Right.
This is a country that has many, many unique features. One of them is the car-free day. Imagine a day in a month where you don't see cars. Is that not a wonderful thing?
It is. Save the environment.
And the entire population is galvanized into doing a cleanup of their neighborhood. Is that not a wonderful thing?
I think so.
And unique too.
Yeah.
Because do you know of any other African country that has anything similar, not necessarily identical?
Car free in terms of vehicle? Nope.
No, a free day where you stop.
Don't use your vehicle.
Yes, and for a certain number of hours, everybody cleans up their neighborhood.
Well, I know in Nigeria, every first Saturday of the month, there's environmental sanitation. So you don't go out before 10 o'clock on a Saturday morning, and you're making sure that you're cleaning your environment, and, people are watching.
Who makes sure? Because in Rwanda, it is made sure you do precisely
No, it's made sure by the local government. Local government officials are there making sure that you actually do it. First Saturday of the month.
And everybody is told out.
There are no cars on the road. You can't be out on environmental sanitation day. You can't be out. You must be cleaning.
See?
Yeah.
Good thing, isn't it?
Good thing.
Very good.
The sharpness of the tongue defeats the sharpness of the warrior. That's the proverb.
Right then. I think what that means is there's power in words. The power of the tongue has the ability to build up or to destroy. And therefore, your words have the ability to can do a lot of harm, even more than physical harm at times. In the same way, you can use it for good. And so it is the power of words. And so one must always be careful what they say in the platforms that they say them in, whether it's in a home setting, whether it's in a school setting, church setting, all settings. Really must be careful with your words. They have the ability to build or to destroy. And I think in the Bible, there's certain verses that sort of speak to the same thing as well.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. And there are references to blazing fire. There are references to snake bites. There are references to, and all of them lead to the tongue.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Your interpretation is excellent.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, so Alice, let us enter into this world of the mining sector with you.
Yeah.
The gemstones subsector is what you call it.
Yes.
Take us into this world and what exactly it looks like, because we often think that, gemstones, okay, it's for people who come from outside, they have a conversation with government, they're allowed to mine and then they leave. Walk us into this industry and what exactly is happening in here.
Okay, so I think for me, one of the most interesting things is the realization of how little information is out there in terms of what Kenya has to offer within the gemstone subsector. God in his wisdom found it fit to put quite a number of gemstones within Kenya, right? And so the same, we have what you call the Mozambican belt, and it runs from Ethiopia right through Tanzania. Now, within that belt is where you find the occurrence of gemstones. So the counties that you find gemstones in, you have Taita Taveta, which I think has been the one that has been mostly, I guess, exploited, or where a lot of work has gone in. Baringo County, Turkana, Samburu, Isiolo, Kitui as well. So there are quite a few counties that have gemstones.
Yes.
Taita Taveta being the one that's most famous because a lot of extraction or mineral mine or gemstone mining has happened there. The gemstones that you can find in Kenya, of course, is ruby. Again, Taita Taveta, you have ruby and Baringo. You have aquamarine. You have amethyst. You have sapphire, which is very, very good quality sapphire coming from up north. Iolite. So quite a few number of gemstones coming out from Kenya. Extraction of it, I would say there's a lot of artisanal and small-scale mining happening, and very few large-scale or medium to large-scale gemstone mining operations, with Rockland Kenya Limited being one of the main mining operations for gemstones extracting ruby. And then you have Bridges Exploration, who are mining salvarite, or were. Right now they're not doing much exploration. And then everything else is very much small scale and artisanal.
What is it that makes a piece of rock a gemstone?
Okay, that's very technical, because it's all about it's the geology of the area and the different typology of rocks that then over many millions and millions of years, I'm giving out layman's, have compressed and interacted with each other to create this gemstone.
So what gives it value? It's rock. It's a stone.
It's the beauty of it, because, for example, I will speak about the ruby, because that's what our parent company mines. So you'll find you have the ultramafic rock, you have the pegmatite rock in the middle of it, because of the interaction of the two. The ruby, over millions and millions of years, has then crystallized and formed. So it is the beauty and the clarity of that rock, and the fact that it is colored, right? And it is the beauty is it's the color and the clarity of the rock. That is what gives it its value.
Let's talk about ruby. Yes. Must it be red?
Not okay. So depending on where a ruby is extracted, the color will vary a little bit. For example, before rubies in Africa were, discovered around the 70s, a lot of extraction and, what you'd find in the Queens, it's all really, they call it pigeon blood red. So it's a very deep, dark red color. Rubies from Africa are more pink in color. So they have a pink-purple hue. And that will vary whether you're down in Mozambique, whether you're in Taita Taveta, whether you're in Baringo. The hue will tell you, you'll be able to tell which sort of area of Africa you're sort of getting this ruby from.
Can I assume that when you talk about, because we're talking about rare minerals here, aren't we?
Yes.
So it means they are not easy to find.
Yes.
Okay. So then who determines the value? Who determines that? Well, since it's ruby, and since it's been condensed by God knows what over God knows what period, then what we will charge you, because I know it's not measured in kilos, it's measured in carats.
Yes.
You will then, if you want this little piece of, just a portion of, just a teeny little portion of it, this is what we'll charge you. How does that work out?
Oh, okay. So we have, of course, there's international markets, and essentially they're the ones that kind of set the pricing on this. And there's 4 things that a gemstone would be sort of graded against in order to get the value of it, and that's the color, the cut, the clarity, and then the carat weight. That's what really determines. The study of gemstones is actually called gemology, and it's unfortunate we don't have very many gemologists in Kenya.
Do we have any institution that offers a study in gemology?
Gemology, no, none.
Okay.
We have geologists, we have mining engineers, but we don't have gemology being offered in any institution. So essentially, if you want to be able to adequately engage in this platform, there's people like myself who are born into it, and then of course you then go and study, but all courses would literally be outside of country. So you're talking about Thailand, the States, that sort of areas.
So when we talk about this sector that is there, one would assume that with the lucrative way it looks and how important it is, especially to the global space, one would assume that it should be bigger than what it is in the country. Why is it that the mining of gemstone continues to be hush-hush? Only a few know about it.
That's a very good question. I don't think it's hush-hush deliberately. I wouldn't say so. Here's the thing. It's high risk and it's high risk, and then it's also high gain. Okay, but then also it's the knowledge, it's the capacity to extract, it's the knowledge to know where to go, how to follow, because when you're extracting gemstones, usually would be following a vein, right? So imagine
what's a vein?
Exactly, like the one in your actual body or artery that leads to the what you would call a pocket, and a pocket is where you find the most valuable of the gemstones, right? So you follow this vein. Imagine from the very top of the earth, as you extract, as you go down, you follow this vein and you get this pocket of gemstones. So traditionally, or not traditionally, even now, you find, because we have mining, we have geologists, but for artisanal scale miners, it's the cost of hiring a geologist or even a mining engineer to come and tell to come and either help or assist and tell you this is how your extraction should be done, this is how you follow the vein, this is like an actual study of the area, so sort of make sure that your extraction is effective. The cost of that is kind of really restrictive, right? So you find that a lot of gemstone or artisanal miners and small scale miners, they rely on the locals who know the area, and it's literally it's kind of like I wouldn't call them the local. How do you call the local? Not local experts, like the guys who know the area.
Yes, who know the area.
They are
experts, and they are experts. Yes, because they understand the geology of the area. But what they wouldn't be able to do is now definitively guide and say, if we find this is the best way to then get to this pocket.
Okay.
Right. So you spend a lot of time extracting, and sometimes it can be 3, 4, 5, 6 months before you get even that 1, 2, 3, 4 gram stone, and it's rough, that you can then get market for.
So you can spend 6 months,
3 to 6 months,
attempting to extract a 1 gram stone.
Yeah, because yes, exactly. Because as you extract, as you're following the vein, perhaps depending on the mining area, you may find that you get to use some usable material as you go along, or you find you're not getting any usable material as you go along until you really get to the pocket.
Okay, are deposits of these gemstones, of these precious stones, significant enough for Kenya to be on the map when it comes to countries that would then provide? I mean, some things we look at them and we hear them. Diamonds, we are in Botswana, no brainer. We hear gold, we're in Ghana. We hear Tanzanite. Obviously, we know where we are with that and other precious stones. So where is Kenya? I mean, just from your practice and understanding, are they significant enough for you to say, okay, well, this is something that would contribute significantly to Kenya's purse, essentially? Yeah,
definitely so. I mean, here's the thing. The global market for rough gemstones is over $2 billion. And this is rough. We're not even talking about it being value added, right? Salvarite, or Kenya, is a primary producer of Salvarite in the entire world. So you have a few deposits in Tanzania because it crosses the border a little bit, but predominantly Kenya is the primary producer of Salvarite.
How is it different from Tanzanite?
The color.
Okay. Same stuff, different color.
Same stuff, different color, different hardness. If you study the gemstone and the composition of it and the chemical composition of it, you'll find it will be different. Again, it is a geology of the area and the rocks found within the rocks found within that area that will determine the composition of that gemstone. So
how different is it from emerald?
So an emerald is more darker green. Our Salvarite is more luminous green.
So Tanzanite
is blue.
It's blue.
But you can get pink Tanzanites as well.
Okay, Salvarite
is green.
Emerald?
Green.
So the hue comes in here.
The hue comes in here because emeralds, and again, emeralds from Zambia are completely different from emeralds from Colombia as well. Again, it's the hue, it's the composition of the gemstones. So labs would be able to test a gemstone and say to you, this particular stone is from Tanzania, or even is a Salvarite from Kenya, or this is an emerald from Colombia, and this is an emerald from Zambia.
There's a question that Ndu asked that I'd like us to go back to.
Okay, go on.
This vein.
The vein.
This artery.
Yes.
Okay. The deposits, the quantities, the possible value.
Yes.
Is it of an industrial nature?
Industrial?
Industrial in terms of quantity.
Quantity, yes, for sure. I think so, for sure. And this is the other thing. So this information is based on the companies that are extracting and how long they have been extracting for. So if you look at the two main companies that I would speak of that are sort of the medium to larger scale gemstone mining companies, they've been extracting for about maybe 20 odd years.
Okay.
Production is ongoing, and it continues to come. Again, in terms of the value of it and for it being a key contributor to the country's economy and GDP, definitely. Don't forget, we don't have proper data on what is actually on the mineral resources we have. Some have been commissioned, but they're not readily available, not to local investors, unfortunately. It takes a while to get this information. So if you want to get into the subsector yourself, you have to do your own surveys and you have to do your own reports, etc.
I find it strange, though. I find it really strange, though, because I am looking at the floriculture. The flower industry.
Yes.
Okay? So much is known about the flower industry.
Exactly.
So much. Where it goes, how it goes. We even know how much it brings to the country.
Yes.
In great detail.
Exactly.
Okay? Those flowers and the growing of it is something that was begun from scratch.
Indeed.
We don't naturally have roses. Somebody has to bring it from somewhere to plant it here.
Indeed.
Naturally, we also don't have daffodils, do we?
Naturally?
No, I don't think so.
Not naturally.
We
not
do have
naturally.
water lilies. The point I'm making is the industry that you belong to, unfortunately, those rocks have been with us for as long as
Kenya has been.
As the earth has existed. Okay?
Very, very true.
And there's a value to it, clearly.
Yeah.
There's an entire industry. We even hear of centers that deal with these things. And when you hear of the amounts of monies that are talked about,
it's huge.
If I just take a trip down south, mentally that is, of course, and I look at the industry that deals with this in the southern part of this continent, my goodness, wealth, huge, enormous, gigantic wealth was created by this industry.
Indeed.
And because of that, they were able to do fantastic things over time.
Yeah.
Here we're saying we have huge deposits, we have these minerals, and clearly there are people working in that industry.
Yes.
But everything about it is more or less a whisper. You are the first person I've come across who is actually, yes, you are,
oh, wow. Okay.
who is actually talking about it, and yet we've heard of people who are in this business. Again, it's whispers. And when the government speaks about it, it's just about as opaque as you can be opaque.
Yeah.
Why is it that this industry lacks clarity that it should have?
Well, I wouldn't say it's clarity. I think maybe it's just, and it's such a great thing that, I've been invited here, and I really do hope there's more, discourse of this nature around the gemstone subsector. Before the 2016 Mining Act, the Mining Act that we had and we were using as an industry was from 1940.
Before which year?
Before 2016. Right? And so there was a lot of so we have different industry bodies that kind of said look, we cannot be using a Mining Act from 1940 in 2016. And so we got this Mining Act of 2016, and then with it came all these regulations, etc. So I wouldn't say it's not is it really lack of clarity? I think it's a focus on the subsector as one that can contribute. It's the lack of, appreciation and understanding of the subsector, as well as capacitation in the subsector as well, right? So it's a myriad of things. So the people who do it are just focused on, it's just you're running your business, you're focused on growing your business to meet your, to do your business to make it successful, right? As any other business person would do, right? And again, you lobby government and you talk to government or the different ministry that you need to speak to, because it changes sometimes with the environment. Now we're with the maritime, so it's never. I think it's only once that we've ever been given a ministry to ourselves.
Okay,
but at that point, we've been still joined up with others. Yeah.
Let's take a break at this point and come back and continue this. I know Dennis has some biting questions, so we'll come back and continue. Alice Muthama is the director of Gemstone. I can be calling it Rockland
Jewelers,
Rockland Jewelers, and we're looking into the Gemstone subsector, you see, and looking at some requirements, some regulations, and saying, okay, so where are we going? 1940 to 2016, and now in 2025, what are we looking at that can actually maybe secure a number of things for this sector in Kenya? We'll be back after this. We'll take a look at weather and traffic. Don't go away. It says 26 minutes to 9.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
And the weather this hour, Nairobi, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Mombasa, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 25 degrees. Nyeri town, highs of 28 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. Nakuru city, highs of 28 degrees and lows of 12 degrees. And across the borders to Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, highs of 25 degrees and lows of 8 degrees. Tanzania, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 26 degrees. Across the borders further aboard to Paris, France, highs of 4 degrees and lows of -1 degrees. In China, highs of 9 degrees and lows of -4 degrees. That is the weather this hour.
Sugar and spice and everything nice. Spice FM.
Spice up your life.
All right, what's happening on the Thika Superhighway? That seemed to be a lot earlier, but then as you come through towards the Outer Ring Junction, that has reduced significantly. But you're going to go out towards Survey, and there's still bumper-to-bumper traffic. It's still pretty busy on Kiambu Road, and we're seeing some traffic coming around the back on to Limuru Road this morning. That continues to be busy. Lower Kabete through to Spring Valley is also still quite something this morning. Coming off of Waiyaki Way, we'll see some traffic then going out towards the CBD, but Uhuru Highway is taking on quite a lot of that. As you're coming in from Capital Centre on Mombasa Road and then out towards the Nyeri Stadium roundabout, between Bunyala and Haile Selassie, it is clogged. So it's very slow traffic. Snail's pace still might be just a tad faster at this rate. So, belts up, you're going to have to sit in here for a while. Coming off of Langata Road is also pretty busy. All this traffic coming in from Mombasa Road, Langata Road, and on the other side of things, Jogo Road is all finding its way towards Uhuru Highway. So let's keep an eye on that one this morning. It's quite sticky. And then let's talk, shall we? SpiceFM KE on X, hashtag The Situation Room.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
All right, at 24 minutes to 9 a.m. Today we're looking at, rather in this hour, we're looking at certain things as concerns the Gemstone subsector, and Alice Muthama is our guest this morning. And as we look at some of those things, just looking at the years in which some of these things were put into place, and asking ourselves, okay, is this something viable for Kenya?
Yeah, so we've talked about the 1940 Act, then we have the 2016 revision of the same, but let's talk about the mining license and permit amendment regulations of 2023, which for the past, say, 2 weeks has been you've been having problems with that, which brings up the question, why would there be a problem when the government wants to regulate how mining is done in the country so that we get the maximum benefit to the people of Kenya? Why is it a problem with these specific regulations that are in place?
I don't think, okay, so I don't think the problem is in. I don't think as players in the gemstone subsector, we have a problem with regulation. Of course, regulation is good, and it ensures everybody is operating within the law. I mean, I think the challenge comes in one over-regulation, and I use that very, use that terminology a bit sparingly. But I think also it's, again, because there seems to be a lack of understanding of the nature of the gemstone subsector. You find that even within the permits and the licensing fees, for example, it cuts across the board all minerals, right? And gemstones are a luxury product. It's not the same as, your other industrial minerals, right? So the amount of time it takes you to extract and even find market for it would not be the same as you would do your other minerals, right? So of course there's that first concern. The second concern, I think, also is within the royalties that have been set, especially for the exploitation on rough gemstones. There was, in public participation, there was, interaction with State Department of Mining before these new regulations were put in place. And, as industry said, look, hang on a second, can we look at reducing, again, the royalty rate that is prescribed, for example, for the export of rough gemstones. Currently, it's at 6%, and then you add the mineral development levy, you're getting up to 7%, and all other little permits, and as you do your export. So that goes quite high. Don't forget, they've increased the mining license and permit fees to up to about 500,000 shillings. So even for a local investor, somebody who from that particular region who's wanting to get into the mining gemstone mining subsector, you find again it's quite restrictive. Don't forget, we've just mentioned that the data is not even there. Even as you're looking at explore, you don't even know what it is that you're going to you might have an idea, but you'd still have to incur further costs by the time you're getting to proper extraction. So you find that again it's really capital intensive, and therefore it does lock out a lot of Kenyans from actually participating then within the subsector. When it comes to the export of gemstones, again, you have the regulations, and I think sometimes it's really the application of the regulations by the different again, using my words very carefully, we just spoke about this, I use your words, and how the regulations are then being applied to industry. For example, it's something that we've raised with the State Department of Mining. The royalties regulations that came in, I think, October 2024, clearly state that if you're exporting a mineral, that you have 120 days from the last day of export of that particular month. So let's say today's the 21st of January, I do my export today. I have from the last day of this month 120 days in order to be able to pay the royalties, right? But currently what happens is if you do not pay upfront, though the regulations are very clear, you then are not then given your export permit. What does that do to a miner or a dealer who, after having this, is relying on that amount of time to be able to export their stone, get it to their client, let the client verify the materials of the, again, don't forget, we don't have gemologists here, so I'm sending my stone knowing it is this grade, it goes to my client, they have to verify, confirm, and then send funds back to me. When you're then made to pay out of pocket, what happens if then your material is then rejected and then you have to bring it back? Don't forget, they'll have classified that already as an export and a sale. So even to get your material back means you have to import it back, which is another costly affair. So I mean, the regulations are there and they're good, but I think one is the application of them, and again, it's understanding what as industry means, what ease of business or ease of doing business means within the subsector.
Yeah. In terms of feasibility studies, I mean, I would wake up today and want to venture into a certain business, and first things to consider would be it is worth X amount, right? As the government now moves into with the new regulations, making sure that everything within the industry is streamlined, any feasibility studies on how much this subsector is worth for them to get into it?
Like I said, data is one of the things that we struggle with as a subsector. We don't have much of it, and any data that you have is with individual, probably parties that have done it within their specific mining claims. We had an engagement last week with State Department, and we raised the same issue. And myself, amongst other industry players, were like, honestly, truly, it does. The reports that you mentioned are not readily available. To, like you said, if you wanted to get into the subsector, it definitely would be. You would have to commission your own studies to confirm for yourself, which again are costly.
Right. Strange, though. Strange, isn't it?
It is. Very. But I want to ask a question, and then maybe this kind of, you would imagine, what is the global or external demand for Kenya stone? Because I would imagine that would fuel internal policy to then be able to, get it out as much as possible, as it were.
I mean, demand is there for as long as fashion exists and luxe products, demand is there. Here's the thing, within the gemstone subset or industry, you have international shows that happen annually without fail, save for, I think, when we had COVID. I think those are the only maybe 2 years that we didn't have these industry shows, and that goes from the United. So we start off with the United States, which is happening end of January, February. Then you have Bangkok, and then you have this Basel. There's shows in Europe, and the circuit goes around the entire year. And you can guarantee at every one of those shows that you go to, you will find Kenyan gemstones. You'll find the Johnsol ruby, you'll find Savarite, you'll find aquamarine from Kitui, you'll find amethyst, and all very good quality and all very good color, but predominantly it's Savarite and ruby. Which is what has really actually then been extracted to most significantly. Everything else is still very artisanal.
The government says it's getting into these regulations, trying to streamline everything because of the smuggling that is involved in the industry as well. As a stakeholder in this industry, I mean, how bad is smuggling denting your business in terms of credibility internationally, and how best can the government assist you address that problem?
So this issue of smuggling of gemstones comes because, don't forget, like I said, there's a lack of a market access, right? Especially for the artisanals and the smaller scale miners. When you have restrictive regulations when it comes to exports, etc., it means that, or even in renewal of licenses, it means if you have, let's say, Dennis, your gemstone dealer, and you have CT, he's a small scale miner. If you're not able to shift your product or get it to in Thailand, for example, because of just the things that I've mentioned, it means you're sitting with your product and if you're not shifting it, then you're not able to buy it from him. So then you find there's a kind of stagnation, right? So what happens if then Unda comes from Thailand or Sri Lanka, and she's like, wait, what's going on? Like, I needed this, I'll come to you, right? And then you'll then sell to me, for example, so that I can then go back, because then it's that unlocking that business chain, right? So what happens is you'll find some of these unscrupulous characters who will then come. They'll come on tourist visas, it's the truth, and then they'll just go down to Voi, and there you have lots of dealers and brokers, and because you're not able to export it at that point, then she will then take it and just cross through Tanzania, bada bing, bada boom. Again, we don't have gemologists. Even if you are carrying this 5 grams, nobody is able to say it is this or it is that, even at the border.
So this is what confuses me. I'm sorry to interject, but how do you regulate then a subsector for which you don't have the mechanisms for practice? You don't have the individual. You don't have the individuals who, like you say, are supposed to measure. What are you
feasibility studies
for feasibility study?
Actually,
how do you regulate?
You know who's being generous with that question?
City wants me to sound a little bit meaner.
No, not meaner. I mean, how do you have a subsector where the things you're asking don't exist?
This is it.
Yes.
It's like saying, I need you to make a pot of stew that has specifically chicken, but the chicken doesn't exist. There's no chicken.
Yes.
So how will you tell me that I'm demanding a pot of stew from you? This is the thing. With the regulations, you're saying you must do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Exactly. And the infrastructure that is needed, it is your responsibility as government to provide.
Yes. And yet we have other subsectors which supposedly bring the country money. And all these things that we're talking about exist. That's why we know about them, because they exist.
Like the horticulture you talked about. You can pretty damn well say what you want about that. You can ask them to do 1, 2, 3 and it could be private sector that has insisted that this infrastructure then exists, but they've done that over time. But then it exists for you to make a demand.
Naivasha died at some point as a town. Dead. Why? The road that passed Kijabe and went down, that road existed, but a new road was created. So people chose to go to Limuru around. They didn't go through Kijabe, and so they didn't go through Naivasha. Then floriculture flourished. The town got revived. Before you knew it, the hotels coming up around, the lake, blah, blah, blah. And as I say, the rest is history. The town is still alive and well. There is a county called Narok, okay? What Narok is known for is something called Lamara, okay? There are animals that we are told they run wild, okay? But people come from all over the world to see these. Now, I'm mentioning 2. Let me mention a third one. The coast of Mombasa has beaches. People come from all over the world to go to those beaches. These counties have benefited very directly from these resources. Directly. Taita Taveta is poor.
Just mention them. Baringo, Turkana, Isiolo, Kitui, all of them.
Some of the poorest counties we have in this country. And yet, they are rich in mineral resource. Surely, you shouldn't even use the word rich. Just say they have a lot of mineral resource. And you see, for me, the question that begs to be asked is this perchance? And the answer, of course, is a resounding no. Somebody is benefiting from the lack of everything that this industry needs for it to thrive.
And you see, City, as well, just as we talk about that, remember that the government itself has declared tsavorite a strategic mineral. But they're declaring a strategic mineral without having a feasibility study of knowing how much there is for us to benefit from it, for us to declare it a strategic mineral.
Let me ask you, how on earth did they determine it was strategic?
Thank you. If there is no data on it.
Yes, how? What is it that they use to inform them? It means they actually have
data.
It's just not
publicly made public known. So the government seems to be in cahoots. Underline seems to be in cahoots with some big players in this industry who know what it is that is worth and how it benefits. And maybe not government. Certain people who have been in positions of authority and government, certain. And it is probably from one government to another, to another, to another. Because it can't be that you have a subsector that seems to have everything we're talking about that would make for a lot of wealth for the practitioners in it and for the counties in which these minerals are nestled. And yet the complete opposite is what we see. How?
See, I think for me, again, using my words very carefully here, here's what I would say. I genuinely think, and I think in the years that I have been in the industry, for the dealers who have been in industry and the few miners who have been in industry, I think what we face is a lot of frustration because of there's a huge lack of understanding and capacitation within the subsector. Because if you do not understand something, then you will think that this will work for this, that one size fits all, right? And that generally really truly is a problem that we have. It's a lack of understanding and capacity of the gemstone subsector and the gemstone value chain. What it means to prospect, what it means to explore, what it means to mine and extract, what it means to process, and then what it means to then value add and market. For example, we have Voi Gemstone Trade Center. Noble effort, but how do you have a trade center that has no capacity, has no trained gemologists, has no trained cutters? For what purpose is it currently there's the idea of it, but when you look at the actuality of it, right? And so again, it is understanding, and then it is trying to make a 2-year-old baby a 2-month-old baby stand when they're not yet ready to stand.
You will even hold up their head.
And hold up their head, right? So there needs to be a lot of support, one, from the part of the exploration and extractive sector, right? In the same way, how in agriculture you have agricultural extension officers who are deployed to go and help, etc. We have so many let's just talk about what we already have. Geologists who government, State Department of Mining can engage and send out to all these counties that you've mentioned to help anybody who wants to get into the subsector to actually figure out how is the best way for me to extract this, right? Secondly, then it comes to licensing, right? And ease of licensing. For example, and one of the things that we had a discussion with the State Department of Mining last week was how, even though you have the regulations that I've mentioned, there's even regulations on renewal of licenses. For example, now there rests the authority within the State Department of Mining and the Cabinet Secretary, which we hope we are able to have this discussion with him to add on other things. For example, one of the statements that was issued was that we're not going to be able to renew your mineral dealer's license unless one, you prove that you have done sufficient business, and I'm like, according to who? And that's not also in the regulation. And secondly, as a dealer, that you have gotten letters from each and every supplier, again, not in the regulations, to say that you're going to buy from them. And I'm like, hang on a second, I'm a gemstone dealer. Maybe my client in the United States wants aquamarine today, so I'll buy from Dennis. Maybe next month they'll want Starbright, so I'll buy from CT. Maybe the next, after 4 months. So I mean, am I meant, before my license is renewed, am I meant to go to people that I'm not sure what the market will want, right? The demand will be different. It's fashion, it's luxe, it depends. It's driven by the external market, right? So those kind of like statements that go around what is actually within the regulations is what really kind of makes it. So ease of licensing, such that as a gemstone dealer or miner, I know that if I start this business, the fact that I haven't made sufficient sales according to the director of whoever of mines, etc., watching my words again very carefully, that I will still be able to renew my license and keep working and making my businesses and make it successful. Rome was not built by a day. There's no I'm going to enter this trade today and by the end of the year I've made 1 million sales, X amount of sales, and therefore you can renew my license.
What's the odds, really? I mean, consider which other industries has so many hurdles that are cast in its path in its attempt to simply actualize what it is that it's supposed to do. You just randomly pick one. You won't find one so easily. So why is it that this particular one, every time you speak about it, you're talking about hurdles?
CT, it's because it is the how technical it is. It's gemstones. It's not bread, it's not milk, it's gemstones. And the value attached to it, there's a technicality that comes to the valuation of a gemstone that if we don't have it in country, then it means that we will be struggling.
So,
for example, and if for example you need to capacitate and you have someone who wants to do value addition and they want to bring in someone from Thailand who wants to train cutters, our work permit now has gone up to 1 million. So how are we even promoting value addition? I mean, even that skill set that you're saying, to bring them in to be able to capacitate, already we are cut off. As a person who is in the industry, it's lack of understanding and capacity of the subsector. We don't have the right professionals.
And yet it is a potentially salvaging sector for the areas that we talked about in terms of economic independence.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and one would beg to ask, so there is the failure of the government in making sure that things are right. But to you as subsector holders in this area, say you mine from Taveta County, you go to their grounds, you take whatever it is you need and you go to business. What is your responsibility to the residents of Taveta in terms of giving back to the society? Because one would ask, why come to my land, take away and not give back?
Don't forget, within the regulations and the levies that you pay, there's what actually then goes to county that is meant to, facilitate and address that particular issue. But then, of course, as individual companies who are in that area, then it's upon each individual company and the CSR initiatives that they'll put in within the communities that they're in. And so that, it's that. But then in terms of the regulations, there is what goes to county in terms of levies and taxes.
Okay. What does it look like? In about a minute, what does it look like when, of course, the responsibility of, individual businesses to government? We know what that is. But what would it look like? A properly regulated sector and people being able to do business in an easy or just a, ease of doing business then is embraced. What would it look like?
So, for me, I hope it's something that we can achieve in my lifetime, Kenya has the ability to be the gemstone hub or gateway to Africa for gemstones. Kenya has a hard-earned reputation for being a good and business destination, right? And so ease of doing business, number one, would be an open door policy. Places like Thailand, Sri Lanka, Israel, the reason they have lots of those countries are known for their gemstone centers and conferences is because they have an open door policy. It's something that I think State Department needs to look at in terms of regionally being able to bring gemstones in, looking at realizing value on export and what is actually leaving the country. We'd realize a lot more because a lot more people and buyers would come to Kenya if they know by coming to Kenya they have access to the rest of Africa.
Indeed. It's been enlightening to be able to get into this subsector and hopefully the conversations that we can, continue highlighting. Alice Mudhama is the director at Rockland Jewelers and she's been our guest this hour. Thank you so much for being here and hopefully we can have you in the hot seat again.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right.
Good morning, this is the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga. A 32-year-old man was stabbed and killed as he escorted his son to school in an attack in Madare slums, Nairobi. Locals say they heard commotion and screams, and when they rushed to the scene to establish the source, they stumbled on the body of Michael Oworo lying in a pool of blood. His son stood a few meters away, crying, unsure what to do next after the murder of the father. Police and locals said the victim was taking his son to a baby care center in the area when an assailant attacked him. The motive of the attack is yet to be established, but locals said the murder happened in a robbery mission. President William Ruto is today expected to continue with his development tour of the Western region, which has entered its third day. The head of state is expected to chair a cabinet meeting in Kakamega before embarking on launching several projects in the county. President Ruto will be in Shinyalu, Kakamega, where he'll launch the last mile electricity connection.
Niko na baraza la mawaziri hapa Kakamega. Tupange mambo ya Kenya. Tukimaliza saa 8, mimi naenda pale Shinyalu. Kwa sababu tunahitaji kuunganisha stima kwa watu zaidi hapa Kakamega County. Na serikali ya Kenya tumetoa bilioni 2.6 kuunganisha wananchi 33,000 wapya kwa mambo ya stima.
And Ruto was on Monday in Mumias, where he announced plans to transform the country into a major sugar exporter by 2027. Ruto pointed out that writing off 117 billion shillings in debts, including the payment of 1.7 billion in farmers' arrears and 650 million owed to employees, was part of the efforts to revive the sector.
Na msiwe na wasiwasi, hii siasa mingi inaendelea Kenya itafika mwisho yake. kwa sababu si nyinyi ndio mtaweka mtihani, si nyinyi ndio mtapitisha nani amefanya kazi nani hajafanya. Hawa watu ya makelele hii wanasumbua, wanapiga makelele sijui mitandao wapi. Hawa watu wako na kazi ngumu sana kushindana na mimi. Hawa wako na kazi ngumu, wako na kibarua kubwa sana, na bado mimi napanga tu kazi. Siku yenye tunaangaliana hata siasa kwa maneno
Central Organization of Trade Unions Secretary General Francis Atwoli has lashed out at former President Uhuru Kenyatta over his call for the youth to fight for their rights, terming it self-driven. Speaking in Kakamega, Atwoli dismissed Kenyatta's remarks as insincere and politically motivated. He accused the former head of state of hiding behind youth empowerment rhetoric to protect his own wealth. Atwoli alleged that Kenyatta's call was not genuinely aimed at empowering the youth, but was instead a desperate plea to shield his assets from potential government action under the Kenya Kwanza administration. 3 days after ODM National Treasurer Timothy Bosire rejected President William Ruto's nomination to serve on the National Road Safety, that is NTSA, residents of Nyamira County have come out to congratulate him. The residents said the appointment showed disrespect for their Bagusi community, which has not been given influential positions in government for some time now.
As a community tulikufanyia kazi na hizi kazi ambazo unatupatia katika serikali, na tumeona baadhi zimekataliwa na viongozi ambao umeteua, na sisi tunawaunga mkono. Sisi pia tunahitaji viti vinavyofaa katika serikali.
Kwa hivyo sisi tunaunga viongozi wetu mkono na tunasema kwa namna yoyote our irreducible minimums, tunataka PSS na tunataka CS katika Gusii region.
And finally, US President Donald Trump has signed an executive order to begin the process of withdrawing the US from the World Health Organization. It was one of the dozens of executive actions he put his signature to on today, on day one in office. This marks the second time Trump has ordered the US be pulled out of the WHO. Trump was critical of how the international body handled COVID-19 and began the process of pulling out from the Geneva-based institution during the pandemic. President Joe Biden later reversed that decision. That's the News Wire. I'm Leah Ubaga.
.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
Okay, so at a few minutes after 9 o'clock, still a little bit of traffic in the city this morning, coming off the Thika Superhighway, seeing just a little bit left of that as you approach Survey. It's also a bit busy still on Langata Road, and it'll take you out to Uhuru Highway. Uhuru Highway now seems to be star of 9 o'clock traffic because it's busy from that Bunyala Road junction out towards the CBD. Going towards Westlands from Wangari Maathai Way and also inbound from Wayaki Way through to Chiromo, it's busy as well. Keeping an eye on all of this, let's see what happens as we come out of traffic hour. We'll talk on SpiceFM KE on X, #The Situation Room.
Are you a young person looking to unlock your potential? Are you ready to take the future in your hands? If so, then listen up. KCB to Jejiri is the plan. It's designed to empower young people like you, develop skills and knowledge you need to succeed in life. KCB to Jejiri combines vocational skills training, business development training, access to finance and business mentorship, preparing youth for jobs, entrepreneurship and wealth creation. Don't be left out. Visit kcbgroup.com/foundation to learn more.
This new year, say yes to a new world of entertainment on StarTimes. Enjoy the finest family entertainment on all your favorite channels. Recharge your subscription for 2 months and get upgraded to the next high bouquet for 2 months. Kick off the new school year with a world full of adventures on our kiddie channels. The excitement of sports action in the Carabao Cup, Bundesliga and La Liga. Who will be the new champions? Edge of the seat action on our blockbuster movies. Fresh heart-stopping premium telenovelas plus more spectacular entertainment on your StarTimes decoder. Download the StarTimes On app to enjoy unlimited entertainment anytime, anywhere. StarTimes. Enjoy digital life.
Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
7 minutes after 9 o'clock into the final hour of Kenya's biggest conversation this morning. And we get into another scientific conversation this hour as we look at a number of things that have, kind of encapsulated everybody's attention over the last few weeks. And being able to look at that in finer detail is our privilege this hour. Our guest is already here. And as he is, we just want to go quickly and remind you about Kenya's youth and how they're getting an opportunity to match opportunity with skill and talent.
Yes, and that is the Tujiajiri program under the KCB Foundation. And with that, the KCB program actually is sponsoring training for students aged 18 to 34 in technical and vocational training, that are the TVETs. And through that, they go further and get certification from NITA that City says is very important to present whenever you're looking for jobs. And as well as the program incubates the enterprise created by these students by offering business advice and pairing them with mentors who help them scale their business and make sure that the business does not go down, City.
When you have an ID, it's a documentation that authenticates several things. If it's a government ID, it authenticates the statement that you're a citizen of the country. If you have a work ID, depending on where you work and depending on the ID, there are some IDs that open doors literally. And once you present them, it is that documentation that speaks louder than anything you could say. And it's the same thing that a certification from a TVET, a government body like NITA, that is actually known to provide training. You wouldn't say training, it's not just you go there, train, you have knowledge. No. You go, train, and that knowledge and its applicability is then determined. Upon that determination, you certify and say, this individual has undergone this sort of training and is now able to do this. That's what it does. And when you want to go into business, it helps tremendously because it speaks for you. Why? Because the institution that gives it out is known to represent a certain truth.
Yes. And after that, you're actually paired with a mentor who makes sure that your business is going well. And after that, the business is actually vetted. And if it's good to go, you are actually given credit by the bank, and it is upon this point where the bank takes over, gives you the loan for you to continue with your business. I mean, it's all about giving you the skill, giving you a mentor, giving you the loan, making sure that you're rising, and all this information is available on kcb.com/foundation.
Absolutely great stuff. And as we're looking into a scientific conversation that we're having this hour, Dr. Hesbon Tindi is our guest, and we're looking into livestock vaccines. Mr. Hesbon Tindi, Dr. Hesbon Tindi, is a scientist in animal health, drug prophylaxis, molecular immunology, as well as molecular studies. And so we're looking at some of those things this hour in relation to livestock vaccines. Let's say good morning to you first, Dr. Tindi. Karibu sana to the Situation Room. You're in the hot seat of the Situation Room, and we'd like to say Karibu.
Thank you, Okoh, and thanks, Charles. Karibu. I'm Tindi Hesbon, and I'm excited to be here just to expound on the livestock vaccine.
Indeed.
Having done, a number of vaccine development, moved in a few institutions within the country to be able to produce quality vaccines. Therefore, I think it's an exciting moment just to feel, to inform the public, what the vaccine is all about.
Okay, That's great. Well, let's welcome you to the Situation Room first with proverb that CT has, and then you can first of all tell us what you think about the proverb and how you would interpret it. All right.
Our proverbs for the whole of this week come from the Republic of Rwanda. A truly interesting country, truly. One of the cleanest countries in the world, not just Africa. Okay? Well, it's African thing. Okay? When it comes to gender equality, we're talking about political gender equality. Okay? 60% of elected leaders within their parliament are women. 60. I mean, this gender rule that we keep struggling with here, they actually met it and overtook it a long time ago. But it's also one of the most densely populated countries on the continent. Uniqueness of Rwanda.
Indeed.
Right. The proverb, the sharpness of the tongue defeats the sharpness of the warrior. Esbon, tell us
what do you think about that, and how would you interpret it? Yeah.
I think I'll first of all go back to one of the statements I've heard from you this morning, that when you have inner TVET certificate from an institution that you've got it from, that institution sell it for you. And therefore, if you have a sharp tongue, it helps to sell you. It helps to sell you.
Okay.
And therefore, for me, I think this morning, thanks actually, Charles, for bringing in that proverb. For me today, I will say that if you have in an institution that has been mentored very well to produce a quality vaccine, that sells the vaccine. I think for me, I'll stop there so that I don't miss.
You've actually killed two birds with the same stone. You provided the meaning, and then you sort of like landed it onto an application.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Well, as we get into that livestock vaccine conversation, it took the country by storm last 3 weeks or so. And we were all behaving as though we've never heard that livestock are vaccinated. But then the problem was that there was an external source which is purported to have been coming in. And all through the game, we're really wondering what happened. So just give us an overview of what this particular sector, then looks like. And then its importance, where they are developed, why have them in the first place? I mean, after all, people think animals running around, they can do what they need to do, and then, you either eat them or sell them. But clearly, it goes a little bit more than that, and they need to be protected. So what's the genesis of all of this?
Yeah, first of all, let me say that one thing, I'm a public servant. And being a public servant, it means that you serve the public interest. And at the same time, you serve in, the government, so at the same time. So I'm actually at the interface between informing the public and at the same time, because by the virtue that I'm done at the university, then I also serve the interest of the government. So I'm actually at the interface of the two. And in relations to that, therefore, it brings in a great advantage to be able to help both the government and to help the public understand the issue of the vaccine. So with that, having been in the vaccine sector, therefore I feel it is an excellent time to inform the public that actually this is not something very new, though it's coming at this time. And I've always said that, if Charles has come in with a quote from Rwanda, I want to come in with a narrative from the Bible that has been sold. And Jesus Christ, for those of us who believe in the Bible, that Jesus Christ is coming, but we totally don't know the time that is coming. Anytime he can come. And therefore, vaccine has been there. And at this time, if a savior has come in the name of the vaccination at this time, why not pick up the mantle? So for me, that's what I'll tell the public, that it has been there. But they have been going to the commercial shop, you look for it, you buy it from the vet doctors, you get it there. But now I think it is a regime that has come that thinks that we can actually subsidize this vaccine. And Adonna probably has come who also thinks that actually if we do these vaccinations, then we are likely to protect the livestock.
When you talk about vaccines, the role of vaccines is to prevent.
Yes.
Right. Walk us through this gently, because I am not a livestock farmer. My colleagues here know that livestock exists, but like me, they are not farmers. Why vaccinate animals? Why vaccinate livestock?
Yeah.
What are you vaccinating against?
Yeah.
And why would it be a government agenda?
Why would it be a government? Two things. One, you're right, it is to protect, to control. And you see, at any time of your life, you can think that it is time to protect. So for me, I think it is now time that we realize that we can actually start protecting now. It is not that we have not been protecting before. We have been protecting before, and I'll give you some numbers.
What have we been protecting?
We have been protecting against East Coast fever, which is one of the vaccine the government is actually interested with. And I will tell you that personally I've coordinated in program across Africa, and especially Rwanda that you have actually brought the quotation from. It took me one day to negotiate a vaccination program in Rwanda at the ministerial level. And therefore, they understood the advantage of the vaccine, and we've done in good numbers. We've done in almost 2.5 million doses of East Coast fever vaccine across Africa, all the way from Mozambique, Rwanda, Burundi, Malawi, up to South Sudan. We've done East Coast fever vaccine. Agrovets have been selling PPR vaccine, which is pestes petit ruminant, a pest for the small ruminant, simply a virus for the small ruminant. There are a number of agrovets that have been dealing with that vaccine, of course, on a commercial level. And, with the cost, probably now the government thinks it is time to subsidize that for the farmers. The other vaccine I think the government is looking at vaccinating is FMD, foot and mouth disease, which has got another connotation of the fact that it has a transboundary disease. It's a disease that can move beyond the counties and can move beyond the countries, and with that, therefore, it puts the trade, especially on live animals, at stake. And as you know, live animals, especially from part of our countries, goes all the way to Singapore, by the way. Those are some of the figures that maybe some of us do not understand, and that brings the foreign exchange. If we lose that, then we lose in the few dollars. So I think that's why probably at this time, the government thinks that it is good to protect some of those aspects so that we are able to trade in both live animals and also the flesh.
Atari, before this government came into power, livestock farmers have existed. As you correctly put it, you've been involved. Not just within the country, but you've been involved outside the country, because that particular line of work has existed. Dennis asked a question. Why is it that the government wishes to be involved now? You may not have an answer to that, and if you don't, you just say you don't. We asked the question because if livestock have been in existence, it means those who farm them have understood the need to protect, and they've been doing so.
Yeah.
What is it about the government initiative that will be of greater advantage than what the farmers or people who have livestock, what is it that will surpass what it is that they themselves have been doing to their advantage?
Yeah, and you're right, actually. The fact that I don't directly work for the government, I work for the university.
Yes.
And that gives me the leeway to serve the public interest, at the same time to serve the interest of the government for the benefit of the country. So ideally, I don't know why now, but I can only speculate as an academician that probably it's because they now think that if we vaccinate our animal, especially for FMD, then we can gain some market.
What is FMD?
Foot and mouth disease. Foot and mouth disease, which is actually a transboundary, and that the regulations on the sales of live animals, but also for the meat, actually, for you to access a certain market. And I think probably I've heard the president talking about that if we want to access, especially the European market, FMD is actually important. And that I'll take people back to the history about Botswana. One of the countries that has totally managed to access the European market. And that is because of their capability to control FMD. So ideally, I can now speculate that probably that's one of the reasons why, the government now thinks it is important to vaccinate against that.
Then why just not say it? Why not? I mean, it makes sense. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Why would you just not say it?
And I think at some point the president has actually said that for us to access a certain market, but of course he has not said which market. And for me that is important because I know that there are some slaughterhouses that want to access. I know the Mara meat in Mara. People might not know that there are those who aim at exporting meat, not only our KMC, but and I'll just give you an example of one, the Mara meats based in Mara. So for us as a country to help such individuals to access that market, because we know if they access it, then we get the foreign exchange. That I think is a good initiative. The other thing in terms of the East Coast fever, which is another disease that I've seen the government is interested with, and that is basically to protect the dairy industry in terms of the milk production, but then also for the meat, because that disease really wastes the mass of the meat, and therefore the farmers do not have a value for their animals.
Daktari, the current vaccine that the government has been pushing, that farmers uptake for their animals, is something that is shrouded in mystery. We don't know which vaccine it is they're talking about, because all we hear is it's a vaccine.
Yeah.
So this vaccine that is farmers are being asked to uptake, what vaccine is it? Is it meant for FMD? Is it meant for East Coast fever? And let's go even further. There are allegations that this is meant to stop animals from producing methane gas. It has been a conversation. Also, the donors who are on board, also something to do with climate change. There is information that is lacking, hence why Kenyans are talking about it and others actually saying we're not going to uptake it. What vaccine is this? What is it meant to achieve?
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that I think it's one of some of the things that I think probably we have not done enough, and that's why for me I am totally advocating that if we want people to appreciate a project, I think we keep on telling them the real story. One of the vaccine is the East Coast fever vaccine, which is a vaccine against a disease that is transmitted by the ticks. And the ticks then transmit in a parasite called Theileria parva. And that Theileria parva usually causes the lymphocytes, those are just cells in the body, to start multiplying, and actually it turns them to be cancerous cells. And that's why usually I say that this is the cancer of the cattle. And because of that, it actually leads to what majorly we call muscle wasting. So the muscles goes away and the cattle become very thin and therefore emaciated, and finally it dies within 21 days. So there is probably to protect the animal from actually wasting, but also in the dairy sector it cuts off the milk. So then there is also production involved. So that is one of the vaccine, and that we have been doing. Personally, I've done that for the last 7 years in terms of coordinating those projects across Africa. The second vaccine is a vaccine called PPR, Peste des Petits Ruminants, or PEST for the small ruminant. That is majorly for sheep, goats. Vaccine. The other one is FMD, foot and mouth disease, that is also being produced by one of our institutions called Kevevapi. But the other vaccine that also I know most of us have appreciated is the Newcastle vaccine for the poultry. And I'll say that anybody who has taken in poultry is a beneficiary of Newcastle, because Newcastle, when it comes, if it is 10,000 chicken, they go down, and therefore for me that is much more of economic thing. So those are some of the vaccine. Now allow me just a few minutes to expound something that I've heard from you. So this vaccine, actually there is no mystery about them. Personally, I've been researching for ECF for the last, I think, 12 years, including the deployment of vaccine. I have trained a number of veterinarians to do vaccination across this country. And we've worked together with the Kenya Veterinary Associations. We've done serious presentation to them. So there is no mystery about it. The people in the livestock sector understand it. Farmers, in fact, I can quote them, and if they are alive, they can also call all the way from Uasin-Gishu. We have done in vaccination. In Kericho, we have done vaccination. In Bomet, in Narok, down in Oloitoktok, we've done vaccination, especially in area where this disease. So it's not mysterious. The second one, PPR, I've been at the center of the vaccine development. When I was working at the International Livestock Research Institute based at Udhiru, Kenya. And therefore, this is a vaccine that we appreciate as Kenyans, that we have at least played a role in its development. I've developed a thermotolerant vaccine on it. We have tested it across, and we have also mentored KVVAPI, Kenya Veterinary Vaccine Production Institute, as one of our own. So it is not coming from outside. I have not played tremendous role on FMD vaccine, but I have known the story that it was researched at ILRI. It was researched at Calro when it was still CARI, and then the technology was transferred to KVVAPI. And therefore, for me as a Kenyan, I appreciate that type of a process, that there is no mystery about it. The other thing that I want to diffuse and tell Kenyans is that we need to differentiate vaccine from the other product that they say reduces methane gas. They are totally two different products. I have seen the clips, and I just want to tell the farmers that we are totally talking about different product. The other product is not a vaccine.
What is it?
Which product?
That one, I will call it as a feeds additive. It's called bovine. Bovine.
Who produces it?
And that product is a chemical that is composing of a nitrooxypropanol, 3 components, a nitrogen component, an oxygen component, and a propanol component for the chemist. So it's something that composed of 3 chemicals.
Which does what, though?
So I will call it a chemical feed additive. Simply the same way that you can have salt and give to cattle. And that product, I still don't know who produces it, but I know some institution either in the UK or Australia. And that is a chemical additive. It's a feed additive. You add it to the feeds, and its role is to help in the digestion of the feeds. Yes, and you know, when digestion is improved, then you improve the absorption of the nutrients into the body of the cattle.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break at this point as we continue, and then come and ask, okay, so then if it is so cut and dry, as you say, then it should not be difficult in any way to then just be able to adopt. But then, of course, the question is, what then are the underlying issues here, if there are any? We're having a conversation about these livestock vaccines and probably what the country needs to be able to make it more appealing on the global market. Dr. Tindi is a vaccine scientist, and we're having a conversation about that this morning. Don't go away. We'll take a break and look at what's happening with weather and traffic, and we'll be back after this. It is 29 minutes to 10.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. The weather with SpiceFM.
One in Nairobi, highs of 27 degrees and lows of 15 degrees. In Kakamega, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In Lugari, highs of 26 degrees and lows of 8 degrees. In the lakeside city of Kisumu, highs of 30 degrees and lows of 19 degrees. And in Nakuru town, highs of 28 degrees and lows of 12 degrees. Nyeri town, is having highs of 28 degrees and lows of 11 degrees. But in Kinshasa, Congo DRC, highs of 31 degrees and lows of 23 degrees. In Johannesburg, South Africa, highs of 26 degrees and lows of 14 degrees. In Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, highs of 32 degrees and lows of 26 degrees. But in China, highs of 9 degrees and lows of -4 degrees. So is the case in Paris, France, with highs of 4 degrees and lows of -1 degree. Pretty cold in France there. Good morning.